Why is my camera on? Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for our 2024-2025 Premier League predictions. As you can see, we're a whole bunch of people today. Not usually like this on this channel because I like to give everyone the time and space to say what they need to say. But last year we did a whole Premier League prediction, and we tried. I think it was four of us, and we did it combined, and it just became a mess. So I was like, let's change it up. Let's bring a bunch of people on. Everyone do basically their own predictor. And then at the end of the season, because not everyone might be available or whatever else, we will bring a couple of the people back on and see how badly we did. Because there's a lot of big questions. Can Chelsea make top four? Maybe. Maybe not. Can anyone beat City? Probably not. And can, for the first time since, I don't know since when, but can a promoted side stay up? Who knows? Will anybody get relegated? Obviously, I'm very different. I can't speak anymore. Dimitar just told me he can't change his picture that you can see. No problem, Dimitar. It's fine. He's getting his kitchen redone or whatever else is happening, so that's why he has his camera off. Absolutely no problem. But I'm sure a lot of people in the chat, and I'm sure a lot of people even on the stream, would also like to talk about the whole Osimhen, Felix, Gallagher drama. We will be back talking about that either tomorrow or on Friday. Today, we want to focus on the Premier League. I want to start by just a bit more of a general chat. I'll start with you, Pais. First of all, as always, thank you for coming back on. Premier League season is very much upon us. How do you feel going into it? Obviously, from a Chelsea perspective, also from a more broader perspective, if you want to. Are you expecting an interesting season from an overall perspective? And do you think Chelsea can have a good season, or do you fear another one like the last two?
I think the Premier League's a bit boring nowadays, to be fair. I think it's been boring for a few years in terms of, we know the top two is going to be Arsenal and City, so anything after that, it's, anyone's best guess, to be honest with you, who performs the most consistent. In terms of Chelsea, yeah, look, I think, I'm really excited with the attack we've got. I'm really excited with our midfield, and I think Maresca suits the way that our players we have in the squad. I think the style of play is good. There's obviously some questions around our defence, but, I'm pretty, I'm looking forward to it overall. I think we'll have a decent season.
Very nice. I mean, I hope you're right. I'll bring something up before we do our own predictor in terms of the Opta, whatever data analytics. I don't know if it's AI or whatever it is, but where they predict us to finish. So some people think we're going to be terrible. Some people think we're going to be good. It's very interesting in terms of the popular people, whether that's Vescoli or I don't know, the Gary Nevilles, Jamie Carragher's, all these lot. I don't think any of them think we're going to make top four. So let's see what we think. Naishi, I'll come to you. First of all, thank you for being back on. It's been a hot minute, so I'm glad to see you, bro. Same question as opposed to Pais. First of all, do you think Chelsea can have a good season? And do you agree with Pais that the Premier League is actually a bit boring now?
Yeah, I mean, definitely in agreement with Pais there. First of all, yeah, thank you for bringing me on your show as well. And yeah, like and support your channel as well. Yeah, just back on that. Yeah, I think obviously with Man City winning it 4 in a row, it's just difficult to kind of find any excitement going into the season because you kind of know that Man City are winning it, and this will be a record 5th time if they do win it. So
no one has ever won it 5 times in a row before, have they?
Yeah, nobody's won it 5 times in a row, and definitely not in the Premier League. So if they do that, it's going to be just even more boring. And in regards to Chelsea, obviously you never know with Chelsea. You never know what to expect, especially these last, I don't know how many, this several years, since 2017, it's just been up and down, and we haven't really challenged since 2017. So you really don't know what to expect with Chelsea.
That is sad, isn't it? When you deep it, 2017, and then you think it's 2024. How long ago?
It's a better part of a decade, isn't it?
Very
exactly.
Very impressive. So, obviously, we won the Champions League in the meantime, which fantastic. But that kind of in our memories kind of papers over how long we've kind of not been competitive in the league, really. Charlie, I'll come to you first of all. Thank you for being back on as well. I appreciate it. Let me know, where do you stand in terms of optimism, positivity, negativity, pessimism ahead of the season? Where do you stand on it? Like H. Nako here in the chat said, top 4 minimum. Now, I want to have that opinion, but I just personally think it's such an unrealistic, and when I say unrealistic, I mean unrealistic expectation. I'm not saying it's unrealistic that it can't happen, but I think it's it could happen and it could not happen. So if you set that as the expectation to the team, I just think it's a bit unfair on the manager and the team, really, because we have a manager who's never coached in the top flight before. So why is anybody expecting him to be brilliant? He might turn out to be brilliant, but he's not going to be brilliant from day dot, is he? Like, he's going to have to do some learning as well. And the same applies to a lot of our players. So that's why I think expecting top four, I think is a bit harsh. That doesn't mean it can't happen, but I think it's a bit harsh. But I understand that everyone has a different opinion. So, Charlie, where do you stand? Is top four like an expectation, a minimum expectation for you? Or where do you stand on that, I guess?
I think it has to be. I don't think top four is harsh. Maybe slightly, maybe on the manager, because he's obviously very inexperienced. But this is a group of players that, you know, despite all the ups and downs of last season, we finished, 5-6 points off fourth place. We've got... most of those players are years more experience, and you would say that the team is probably better now because Reece James, because Lavia's back and Kunku's back. We've added Pedro Neto, and there's no obvious standout candidate for that fourth place. That you got us, Spurs, Villa, Newcastle, Man United, etc. Like, this is not like, you know, oh my God, there's definitely 4 teams that are much better than the rest. There's 2 that are better than the rest. And then Liverpool, you don't know what you're going to get. They've done no business so far. Slot is a bit of an unknown quantity. And then all the other teams are pretty much of a likeness. And there's no reason for me why we can't come fourth. And it will come down to A, injuries, and basically B, can we find some consistency? Because we've got the quality of players to do it. So, like, for me, I don't think it's unfair to expect the top 4, or it's unfair for the top 4 to be the expectation. Like, I just think it has to happen. Like, not just for the manager, not just for the players, but more importantly, it has to happen for the club, it has to happen for the model, it has to happen for the project. You know, if we go a third year with no Champions League football, like, the whole project is basically fucked, isn't it? Before it's even really got going.
No, you're 100% right. And from that perspective, it must be the expectation. I see what you're saying. I mean, Pedro Neto has changed it ever so slightly, I suppose. I'm not fully in agreement that we necessarily improved our squad. I still think our defense has got significantly worse purely by Thiago Silva not being there and all the replacements being at best average, if you ask me. But why I don't see quite as clear that top 4 should be happening is, to me, well, nobody else other than Liverpool changed the manager. So you'd expect them to have better and more clear progress from last year to this year than we do. Well, we almost start the same thing again. And for me, it's just, I expect not the best start to the season. And then if come October, we're, I don't know, 7-8 points behind top 4 already, I'm not saying we can't catch it up, but I'm saying it's such a tough job by then to catch it up by the time you even consider things to realistically be clicking. I don't know if it's realistic, but obviously a lot of it depends on the others, right? You just mentioned it there. Will Ange and Spurs, can they actually play football now, or will they just constantly concede 4 goals every game thanks to their highlight? Ten Hag with Man United, it's basically just Ajax from 2019, but that Ajax team was pretty good. So, you know, what do you make of that? And like you said, Arne Slot is obviously very much an unknown capacity. Dimitar, I'll come to you next. I think, as far as I remember from our group chat, you are actually in disagreement with what Pai said earlier, and also what I and Naishi do agree with, that the Premier League is going to be boring now. Can you elaborate why that isn't the case for you, especially like when we are on the verge of potentially, now it might be Arsenal, probably won't be anybody else. Arsenal could beat City to it, but if we have the same champion 5 years in a row, I mean, how different are we really to Liga and the Bundesliga anymore?
Well, first of all, yes, I disagree with most of the things you guys comment on a daily basis, but that's but I don't think we have time to go over all of the points. But yeah, so I think that the Premier League is interesting as it ever was. The problem is that for us Chelsea fans, and let's say for Manchester United fans or even Liverpool fans, you don't start the season with that hope that you can go all the way. Because even back in the day, when we were going back and forth with United, for example, we weren't certain that we can win it every year, but we know we could win it. If some things happen, if the opposing teams have more injuries, if we stay fit, if someone produces a very good season. And that I agree that this time around, this is not the case with most of the teams. I don't think that Tottenham believe they can win the league. I don't think United believe they can win the league. We certainly don't believe we can win the league. And probably Liverpool also don't believe they can win the league. So this leaves Manchester City, which their fans, I don't know even if they care if they win it at this point, but I'm sure they believe they can do it. And that leaves Arsenal, which the fan base has a lot of hope. And I'm hearing all over Twitter, all over YouTube that this is their year. So in contrast to previous years, the title race, yes, is not as, let's say, heated up, but I think everywhere else is just as interesting. Because if we examine, let's say, the places between 3rd and 8th the last 5 seasons, they are almost always scrambled. And there is almost always one team which does, let's say, a Leicester who finished 5th 2 seasons in a row, or a West Ham who finished 5th, 6th, or 7th and play in Europe. And this year we have Aston Villa, who I think for a 2nd year in a row qualified for Europe, and not only that, for the Champions League. We also had Newcastle, who barely missed out on Europe because Manchester United won the FA Cup. So I think there is a possibility for more clubs to actually qualify for Europe than there has ever been. Because 10 or 15 years ago, it was basically a top 5 plus the occasional Tottenham who were still Tottenham, so they didn't do anything anyway.
But obviously that has other reasons as well, like that.
Yes, of course,
European competition now. There's more teams in each European competition.
That is also true. That is also true. But
you make a good point. Like that part of the table is most certainly interesting.
For me, that's interesting because I like to watch games not only from Chelsea, from the Chelsea point of view. I have friends who are Manchester United fans, Liverpool fans, Arsenal fans, and we sometimes watch games together. And seeing the general quality of the league, I think it can produce more interesting matches for the neutral viewer. Now, of course, it's only my opinion, but I think it's not that uninteresting. But of course, if you want your team to win it, you feel pretty boring around May or April every year because you know you're not gonna win it.
I hear it. It's a tough one because, like last year, Chelsea was sent almost a guarantee for an interesting game as a neutral. Like, how many really boring games from both sides did we have from a Chelsea perspective? I don't think that many. But how many teams like that exist in a Prem? I feel like there's a lot of teams that do either just pretty much always get the win, sometimes playing nicely, sometimes not so much. And then especially last year, the 3 teams that got promoted were the 3 teams that got relegated again. I don't know. Ollie, first of all, thank you for coming on. Thank you for waiting as well until I come to you last. Where do you stand on it? Do you think the Premier League has gotten a bit boring? Do you side with Dimitar here that you disagree with that? And also from a Chelsea perspective, do you think, I guess, take it back to the question that I posed to Charlie as well. Do you think expecting top 4 from this team and manager is unfair, harsh, whatever word you want to use it? Or do you think it's perfectly justified? You're muted, bro.
First of all, hello chat, hello boys, hello Loz. It's nice to be back. It's nice to be back on the channel. Is the Premier League boring? Sometimes, certainly. Especially, I think when people say the Premier League is boring nowadays, they're talking about a few things. They're talking about, one is that City win it every year, so the result's kind of boring. And then they also say that the style of football that it takes to win the league is also kind of boring. So yeah, in those aspects, yeah, the Premier League can really be boring. But at the same time, I don't know. You're looking at elite sport, no matter which way you look about it. Records are being broken, every year almost these days in terms of attacking output, defensive output. Like, there's, in some ways, the sport's bigger and better than it's ever been, and in other ways, it's kind of boring and a bit corporate. And I think people, and people have different opinions about what that actually means for the sport. What do I think of our chances this season? I think we're going to surprise a few people this season. I think a lot of the pundits have really written us off. But I think actually we do have the potential to potentially really come together and rise up the league. So I'm hopeful for this year, sort of quietly optimistic.
Fair enough. I mean, I'm glad to hear it. I'm really happy to hear it. It's also part of me just doesn't want to get too optimistic and too excited because the last 2 seasons have just been so depressing. And I know at the end, and I think Pys started with that note at the very beginning, we didn't finish, or was it Charlie? We didn't finish very far off top 4 in the end at all, right? And obviously, if things go a bit better for the other English teams as well, and this time actually including ourselves, there's also a chance that it's not just the top 4, but the top 5 that make the Champions League the next season, right? So there is a chance this happens. It's just like, I don't want to get too excited. I don't know. The last 2 years were just rough, man. And I don't want to sit here and say, yeah, we're going to be this great. I don't want to do that. before we get into our predictions, and we're going to start that in a minute, I quickly want to take a look at the predicted table, essentially, by Opta. Obviously, I'm sure all of you have heard of them, seen of them, whether that's on Twitter with all their stats or whatever else. It's essentially just a stats data analyst website, I suppose. And supposedly, according to their probabilities and likelihoods, Chelsea are going to finish fourth as the biggest likelihood. Obviously, fifth is quite closely followed by fourth. But when you look at this one down here, the fact that Man City have a 99.9% chance of making top four, which is obviously, arguably, it should be 100%, but it's still kind of crazy. They give us a 31% chance. I would say that's probably about realistic, 31% chance. I think it's about less than half chance that we make it, but it's not impossible. I mean, I'll go with you, Pais. Do you kind of agree with these probabilities in terms of that you have the top two, then a little gap to the third, and then a lot of teams on not too distant probabilities? Obviously, I guess it drops quite drastically from Spurs to Villa, which when I see that Villa being so far behind Spurs, I'm like, what data are they using? Are they using the data of the last 20 years? Because it's been harsh on Villa. Because on the basis of last year, I don't see why they would be so much less likely to make it than Spurs are. But where do you stand on it, and what do you think of these probabilities, Pais?
I'm not really sure, to be fair. I mean, I guess the Prem's interesting in a way that, like, the likes of Newcastle, Villa, maybe even West Ham for top six. You've got like these other clubs that can do really well, but then they can also flop. And the same way, they've probably got high expectations on them right now. They may not deal with that very well. They may not be as consistent as they were last season, especially for like your Villa and your Newcastle. It's whether can they do it again, or does someone like Chelsea and Man United really sort of find some form and be more consistent this season with, especially with us, a different style of play, controlling the game more, holding more possession, maybe winning by less goals, but maybe more comfortably winning once we sort out our rest defence as well. I think that could be the case. I think with Chelsea, it's all about, I'm not sure, even if I kind of disagree with you in terms of like, if we're 6-7 points or whatever behind in October, it means it's finished. I think if you look at last season, we had absolutely we had unlimited opportunities to get top four with where we were. There was so many chances, so many periods, so many months where we could have got consistency and we didn't. And the only time we got
everyone can say that though. Like United will say that about themselves. Spurs will say that about themselves. That's what I mean. Like you're right, obviously, and we kind of nearly did it, and we were further behind than I was giving as an example earlier. You're right. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying, well, the further you are behind, the more teams you have to overtake, the less likely it becomes, because then you are relying not just on yourself starting to win regularly, but you're relying on not one or two teams dropping points regularly. You're relying on 4 or 5 teams to drop points regularly. If we're say 7th or 8th come October.
That's what I'm saying, though. I don't think the league is as good as it was anymore. The other teams, even if Chelsea are behind, are still going to give you ample opportunity to get behind them. They just are. It's happened for a lot of seasons now. Outside of Liverpool, Arsenal, and Man City, I think it's anyone's game. You could go from 8th to 4th, and it doesn't really matter what you predict, because at the end of the day, even it can go with us as well. If we're in top 4 comfortably, we can bottle it as well. It can go for anyone. I genuinely think with what I saw last season as well, and I am going off a lot of last season, but I honestly don't rate many of the other teams, to be honest. I really don't. I don't rate Ten Hag as Manchester United manager. I think he does good in cup competitions, but I don't like their style of play, and neither do their fans, to be fair. Newcastle, you don't really know what you're going to get. They're one Alexander Isak injury away from being wherever in the table, So again, I think Newcastle relies a lot on fitness. Tottenham, again, they might be similar to us in terms of, they're going to be good going forward, but how good's their defence going to be? I think Ange plays similar to Maresca, and that is one of my concerns with Maresca. He does leave that, vulnerable to transitions aspect, high line, that sort of thing. So I think us and Spurs are kind of, you don't really know what you're going to get, but there's a lot of potential there. I do feel like Solanke's a good signing for them. And Aston Villa, how far do they go in the Champions League? Is it a case where, Ollie Watkins can sustain that ridiculous goal scoring form? Do they get knocked out early and then do better in the league? Or do then they go quite far in the cup competitions because they've got Emery, who's good in the cups, and then that hurts them in the league. That hurts their consistency. So
and there's
a
no
lot of
dropping
teams.
down to the Europa League anymore now, is there? So that's the problem for Villa. Really.
What I will
there's
say
a
is
lot
the
of
reason
games, a lot of games in the Champions League as well.
one of the reasons that I think that we're actually touted to do quite well is because we're probably going to be in the Conference League, which means we're likely not going to be playing our strongest team in that league. So our starting 11 will play most of its games consistently in the Premier League this season.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, that is true, and that is probably also why Newcastle come in 5th in these probabilities, because they came 8th or 7th, whatever they came last season. Anyway, they're not in any European competition compared to obviously last year where they were in the Champions League. But we weren't in any European competition last year, and that is one thing that obviously Oli makes a good point, that with the Conference League, it's not the same as being in the Champions League, because you can play your lesser players in the European competition, have your better ones ready for the Prem and still compete at the same level. But I still think it has a bit of an impact, and I still think that that's something that part of the reason for our strong end to the season was that compared to our opponents in and around that area of the table, that a lot of them were in Europe, or even if they weren't anymore at that point, they had still been in Europe and still therefore didn't, in my opinion, quite have the same energy left towards the end of the season as we did. And that will not be quite the same case this year. Like Oli said, Conference League, we should be all right. But then again, let's see how many injuries we have, right? If we have loads of injuries, we'll be playing a lot of the first team in the Conference League again. But obviously, let's hope we don't have that. Charlie, when you look at the probabilities, and I can scroll up to the whole table as well. It is again the 3 promoted teams that are the biggest likelihood to be the relegated sides. Do you think any of them will manage to stay up?
There's a chance. I think this year the relegation, it's just the obvious is to go for all 3 promoted teams, because there's not really any standout shitters like there were with Burnley, Sheffield United, and Luton. I know Luton got themselves together a little bit towards the end of the season. They looked like at one point they might climb out of it. But let's be real, Sheffield United and Burnley were dog shit, weren't they? They didn't. I'm not going to say they didn't deserve to be there, but they were just making up the numbers last season. I don't look at any of those. I don't look at any teams now. I think they're making up the numbers. I think all 3 promoted sides have got good strengths. And the only reason I'd say it's probably likelihood all of them go down is purely based on the fact that I don't see any of the established teams in the league being worse than them. I don't see a Brentford, finishing 16th again. I don't see teams like Wolves or Forest or whatever getting dragged into it. It's very hard to make a case for anyone to go down other than the 3 promoted teams. I know that might not happen, but it's kind of the obvious choice, because those other names there, I look at them, I think they've probably got enough to stay up.
It's a fair point. I think for me, we'll get into our predictors in a minute. Leicester probably have the biggest chance. I know obviously they changed manager, but purely just on the basis of their squad and the squad they had last season, also in the Championship, you'd probably give them the best chance. But like you said, and that's part of, to go back to, is the Premier League boring? Dimitar's right. Between 4th or 3rd, whichever way Liverpool do, I suppose, until say 8th, maybe 9th, it's very interesting. But first of all, no one really cares between 10th and 15th. No one's really particularly bothered where they finish. Even the teams that finish there are not particularly bothered. And then if it's always just the same that go up and go down, that doesn't make it quite as interesting. I asked you guys to kind of, either think of beforehand or kind of come up with it on the spot, but at least I prepared you a little bit to give me 3 a bit interesting kind of predictions, I guess. And I just want to go through all of you guys, and then we get to predicting the whole table as well. I want to start with you, Dimitar. Do you have a bold prediction in mind? What could be a bold prediction in your head of something that could happen in terms of predicting the table? Obviously, if you say now, I don't know, Forest will have 1,500 injuries, sure, bold prediction, but not really relevant here. So do you have a bold prediction at all, mate?
Well, I have one, and I'm pretty sure you guys are not going to like it.
Go on.
My bold prediction is that sooner or later, the lack of absolute transfer strategy and the lack of absolute knowledge in our board will result in an absolute fire in our position in the table. I am really disappointed by our summer transfer business, and by the way that they practically sabotaged the preseason of Maresca with all this traveling in the US. So I don't see how we finish anywhere above 8th or even 9th, because I just do not see where Maresca will be able to train to instill the formation in his players, because next week we start our European competitions. And if we, in bar some miracle where we fail, we're going to play, I think, 10 extra games compared to last season until January. So this means basically every single midweek we're going to be playing. So we will be playing 2 games a week for the next 4 months, basically. And up until now, I am not convinced that Maresca has made his formation known to the players. I'm not sure that they are comfortable with it. And I don't see how that can change in the next 4 or 5 months, because if we have a bad start, I don't see how that corrects itself, because you don't have any time to train. You don't have a lot of options to change up stuff, because we basically have 2 permanent midfielders in Enzo and Caicedo, which cannot be substituted and cannot be left out of starting 11. If we buy Osimhen, we're going to have a starting striker for sure. You can't bench him after 10 games. And then we have Palmer, who is our star boy, to use a phrase from the rivals in Arsenal. And then this leaves 4 or 5 positions which have to play every week. So if it's not working, how can you change it exactly? With Mudryk, Madueke, Neto, with Lavia, with Sterling, who most fans hate, or with some of the injured right and left backs we have? I mean, basically my bold prediction is that we finished 9th or 10th, unless the formation kicks in the first 4 or 5 game weeks. Because if we have a bad start, I don't see how we recover. That's my opinion, at least.
Fair enough. I mean, it's a very pessimistic opinion, if you ask me. The one benefit, I guess, to having as inexperienced and internationally, not particularly well represented squad is that during international breaks, we might keep quite a few of our players and actually be able to use international breaks for useful training. Now, not the big guns, not your Enzo Fernandez, Caicedo, Palmer, these lot, but quite a few others might stick around. So you never know. They might improve. So we might at least be good in the Conference League. I guess that is something. Pais, I heard a few sniggers, shall we call it there, from your end about Dimitar suggesting we might come 9th or 10th. So I'm not going to ask you to comment on that. We'll do our predictions, obviously, which will naturally kind of give your thoughts on that side of things. But what is your bold prediction? Do you have a bold prediction? Just to be clear, by the way, the bold prediction doesn't necessarily need to be Chelsea related, just if that wasn't clear to anybody.
Yeah, no, I just think Dimitar's like the most negative person right now, aren't you, Dimitar? So, I think probably, is it just one bold prediction or 3?
Well, I mean, if you can rattle them off, give me more.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I have 3 on top of my head, but I would say,
No.
I'm going to go Bournemouth to be relegated, actually. That's going to be my bold prediction. I think losing Solanke is going to really hurt them. I don't know if they can replace all those goals. I think they had a bit of a purple patch last season as well.
Yeah, I think it's not the worst take. Like you say, losing Solanke. I mean, obviously, part of the difficult bit about trying to do a Premier League prediction on the 14th of August is that there's still 2 more weeks of the transfer window available. So we don't necessarily know how everybody's squad is going to look going into the season, which is why I actually really liked those few years ago when the Premier League shut the transfer window before the season started. The problem was no one else in Europe wanted to play along, because if all of Europe did that, in my opinion, would be the best thing to do. So we can't do transfers like 2 weeks into the season. I think that's silly. Sure, it's from a slightly egotistical perspective where I'm like, I want to do somewhat, reasonable predictions, which you can't if there's still the transfer window to go. But still, I think Bournemouth relegated. It's a decent bold prediction. I like it. Charlie, coming to you. Do you have a bold prediction for me?
I don't know if it's bold, but I think Crystal Palace could get Europe next season. I'm not saying maybe Conference League or something. I know they've lost Elise. They might lose Gerhi, dependent. They like Glasner come in and made a massive impact. They managed to finish 10th, played some really good football. They can keep hold of Eze, keep hold of Gerhi, maybe make 1 or 2 more additions. I think Palace have got a genuine shot at coming top 7, maybe top 8. They've got no European football and whatnot. That would be my bold claim. I think Palace could do something decent next season.
I like it. I mean, obviously, Austrian manager, so I'm not going to complain too much with it, but I think it's a reasonable statement to make. And it's still a bold prediction, so I get it, but it's not the craziest out there one, at least I would say. Naishi, why don't you give me your bold prediction if you've got one?
Yeah, I've got a few actually. I've got a few
Oh.
predictions. First of all, I really think Everton are going to get relegated this season.
All right. Do you think
yeah.
you expecting them to get more points deduction, or purely out of sporting results you think they're going to get relegated?
I think purely out of sporting merit, basically, because they've been looming around relegation for a couple of years, and I feel like with there's been a lot going on at that club, and I think this year, because they've never been relegated in their history, so that's I think that's one of my bold prediction. And unfortunately, my second bold prediction, which a lot of you won't like, is I really do think Arsenal are going to win it this year. I know it pains me to say that, but I really do think it's this year, because with the Man City points deduction kind of looming, and I think they've sped up that kind of verdict to the beginning of 2025 with all that looming and certain players underperforming in that Manchester City team, like De Bruyne has kind of dropped off in performance. Grealish is kind of not the same. I really do think Arsenal are going to edge it this year, unfortunately.
I mean, to be fair, if there's a points deduction for City, I think there's a good chance what you're saying is right. It depends. I feel like because it's Man City and they don't want to ruin the title race of the Premier League, I don't think they will want to do that. Sure, they were perfectly happy to give points deductions in the middle of the season to Everton. I'm not sure they're going to do that to City. I think they're more likely to give them points deduction for next season or whatever else, like not for this upcoming season, but for then next season, if that makes sense. Because like they want viewers, right? They want numbers. So if there's no title race, they're going to kill themselves essentially. So I'm not sure if they're going to do that. And then I think Pep is probably going to leave before the points deduction, and then Pep is going to announce I'm going to leave in the summer, and that in and of itself will make City win the league still. But like you say, if they get the points deduction for this season, I think you have a good point. Ollie, finish the bold predictions off for us. Do you have one? Do you have a good one?
Yeah, I've got a couple actually. First one is that I think English teams are going to win 2 of the 3 European competitions.
Okay. Can you name the 2 or just 2 out of the 3?
I think I can't name the 2. No, I'm just going to go with the 2 out of the 3.
Yeah, no,
Whichever
okay.
ones it is. If I'm correct, I'm correct. And the other one, more for the league, is I actually think Ipswich might stay up.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I think actually out of all 3 promoted teams, they have the best manager by far. In Kieran McKenna. I think what he's done has been really, really impressive, and I don't think there's anything to suggest that they won't kick on and do all right in the Premier League as well.
I hear it. And Ollie, you know what?
They score a lot of goals as well. Like that's. I mean, I know there's not a lot of Premier League experience in that team, but they score a lot of goals. So I think out of the 3, they've probably got the best chance of staying up.
Yeah, I mean, interesting. I mean, you keeping the manager is a fair point, and that will make it more likely. I just still think Leicester probably have a better squad. So on the basis of the squad, I still think it's probably a little bit more likely Leicester, but I get it. Just to quickly do it before I let Ollie continue on his note, basically on terms of the next question. My bold prediction, call it bold, call it not bold. I don't think Liverpool make top 4. I don't think you leave such a long tenure of a manager, change to a manager, and just continue almost as if nothing happened. In the past, there's not many examples where that has gone particularly well. After a very long-term manager, you change manager and you just keep going. That hasn't really happened very often. So on the basis of that, and maybe I'm wrong, but hey, it's supposed to be a bold prediction, isn't it? So even though all the likelihoods could put them easily 3rd, I'm going to say to finish outside the top 4. Now, they might get 5th, and that might still be Champions League next season, but I'm going to say they're going to finish outside
Laurenz,
the top
4. Would you not say, though, with Liverpool, that because they've got, like, a spine of, like, Salah, Van Dijk, still Jota, like, they've got enough in them, maybe. Trent, like... They've probably got like 1 or 2 more, like they kind of got like their old guard, like still quality players like Salah. If they didn't have Salah, then I'd be like, oh, but
yeah,
I don't know.
I hear it. Like obviously that's why I said like it's a bold prediction. I understand there's many reasons to give that suggest I'm wrong, and you have a fair point. I just think that a lot of why Liverpool managed to be as good as they were and managed to be as ruthless often, like so many games last season, even the season before, they always conceded a goal. They often conceded first. never mattered to them. They always won 3-1, 4-1 in the end anyway. And I just think a lot of that mentality, a lot of that was just down to Klopp. A lot of that willingness to like just essentially die on the pitch and just run yourself into the ground. I'm not sure if they're gonna be like that and get these late wins and, you know, pull it through until the end in games and in the season without Klopp. But obviously, you know, you still make a fair point. And also the fact that they're trying to sign all these midfielders and failing and potentially going to have to start Endo into another season. I just don't rate him that highly. And also Van Dijk, I don't know what's happening to him. I just can't get, I will never get over how bad Van Dijk was against Austria at the Euros. So that, sure, he might be amazing again, but I don't know. But hey, it's just about.
I think despite all that, though, I think Liverpool are still comfortably the third best team in the league.
In terms of squad, 100%. But the manager isn't.
I'd love them to flop. But I mean, I don't really take much from pre-season, to be fair, but they have been doing pretty well so far.
Yeah,
but
they have.
I'd love you to be right. I'd love you to be right.
Maybe it is one of those. Yeah, maybe it is one of those that I'm like, I hope it's true, rather than that I fully believe that it is true. But I was trying to think of a bit more of an out there one, so that's how I came up with this one. Ollie, you essentially one of your bold predictions was already touching on the next question in terms of which one of the promoted sides do you expect to be the best one. You essentially said Ipswich already. You elaborated on that as well. Do you think they're going to be the only one that could potentially stay up, or do you see a shock and potentially two staying up?
It could happen, couldn't it? You could see maybe Leicester staying up. Like you said, their squad is effectively a Premier League level squad, even still. Yes, they have lost the manager to us. You know, I guess we'll see this season whether they stay up or not. Might be an indication of how much of their success last season was owed to the strength of their squad as opposed to their manager, and to a certain degree the level of our success. We'll see that as well. Yeah, I could see something like Leicester staying up. I can't see Southampton staying up at all. There's all those teams in the sort of the bottom sort of 7 there. All could go down. I think Everton, Brentford, Bournemouth, Wolves all could go down. Forest especially, I think they could go down. I think in the similar way that anyone can get 4th at the moment in the Premier League, anyone from like 13th downwards can be relegated.
Could be, but then it turned out like last season, it was just the promoted team. So let's hope that's not the case again, because I always like hope for the promoted teams to stay up, unless I have a particular reason to dislike them in advance. Dimitar, I'll come to you. Which one of the promoted sides do you expect to do best? Do you agree with kind of what Ollie said, Ipswich, Leicester, and least likely of them to do the best, Southampton?
I actually almost completely agree with Ollie. I think the way we tried to analyze McKenna when we were thinking he comes to us, that showed to me that he's not the type of possession-based football manager. He's a bit more like Poch, not exactly, but his style is a bit more reactive. And I think this is a style that you could easily transition from winning every game in the Championship to being on the back foot in the Premier League, because reactionary formations and reactionary playing styles could be adapted better. Unlike Leicester, which were absolutely heavily possession-based, and even if they had kept their manager, we know that they cannot have 55 or 56% ball possession in the Premier League as a promoted side. So if we look at in terms of play style, I think Ipswich could stay up. In terms of Southampton, I have no idea, but seeing their squad on paper, it just looks awful. And they don't breathe a lot of confidence into me personally, but like you guys said, anyone from 13th downwards could go down. We could see a point deduction from Everton, which could basically save one of the promoted sides. We could also see some sort of implosion almost everywhere. I mean, Brentford were not great last season. Bournemouth were relying on Solanke. Wolves, they are always a mystery because they always sign and sell players in a kind of a weird way, at least in my opinion. So, and Nottingham Forest, they're still not that great in my opinion, even though Callum Hudson-Odoi did perform very well last season for them. But yeah, I could easily see some points deduction shenanigans or just some team imploding, like firing their manager 10 games into the season, Wolves most probably, or Bournemouth, and then just like trying to save the scraps by the end. But in the Prem, something I have realized in the last couple of seasons, once you start on the back foot, once you have a bad start to a season, it's very hard to compensate for that. And I think we learned that the hard way last season. And I think Leicester learned that the hard way 2 seasons ago when they got relegated. because having a bad start in the first 10-15 games is basically a death sentence for your expectations or for your status as a Premier League side.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't even disagree. Charlie, I'll come to you. Which one of the promoted sides do you reckon does best?
I think Ipswich do best. I think Leicester, it's a big change for them. Steve Cooper, I don't know how well he's going to do. I don't think the signings have been that great. They've managed to keep most of their squad, which obviously could help them. I just think there's something about Ipswich. They're riding momentum, back-to-back promotions. McKenna's doing a good thing there. They've obviously got Amari Hutchinson in. I don't know how good Liam Delap's going to be in terms of as a striker. They could probably do with a bit more Premier League quality because there's not Premier League quality and obviously Premier League experience as well. A lot of that squad has got minimal Premier League experience, but then a lot of that squad had minimal Championship experience, and it didn't seem to be that much of a problem. But I think they could probably do with a few more bodies. I think, as Ollie said, McKenna is definitely the best manager out of the three, in my view, from the sides that have come up. So I think Ipswich do the best. I think Leicester will struggle. I don't see enough goals in that team. They're still going to be heavily reliant on Jamie Vardy at 37. Patson Daka's not really done the business. I don't know if they've been linked with any other strikers or not. But and then Southampton, I just don't see enough goals in that team. Stuart Armstrong, not Adam, I can't remember his name. It's Armstrong. I can't remember his first name. It's Armstrong scored a lot of goals in the champ. It could be Adam Armstrong. I think he's scored a lot of goals in the Championship, but when he's been in the Premier League, he's struggled. So I don't see Southampton having enough goals in the team or Leicester. I think Ipswich got goals in them. And yeah, I think McKenna's
main striker. Does anyone know that off the head?
It was like there was someone called Chaplin, and there was someone else which I can't remember. But they score a lot of goals in the team. Now, whether that's going to transfer to the Premier League, I'm not sure. But I just fancy them I'm not saying they're going to stay up, but I fancy them to do the best out of the three.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I like it. Pice, I'll come to you. What do you reckon? Which one of the promoted sides stays up? Oh, not even stays up, but does the best.
Probably Ipswich, to be fair. I think they've got decent home support. Yeah, I don't have confidence in Leicester. I also think Leicester has got a points deduction coming, haven't they? I think at the start of the season.
Do they?
I think so. That's what a lot of their fans have been saying anyway. Because I remember obviously talking to them about Maresca, and they said one of the reasons obviously Maresca's left is because we're going to get a points deduction. So it's not happened yet, but I think it might happen. And Southampton, I mean, they come up and down, every few years, but I don't really rate their squad. I think their manager as well is quite attacking, and they may just be like another Leeds in terms of like they just try and play football, or another Burnley, with company, and then they concede too many goals. So I'll say Ipswich because I think McKenna's got the most tactical balance. Don't really rate Steve Cooper that much, to be honest. I think he'll probably get sacked midway through the season.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Neji, would you also agree with the boys who have mostly gone for Ipswich being most likely the best of the promoted sides?
Yeah, I'd agree with the boys in terms of Ipswich. And I'm saying that because of the playing style. A lot of these teams, I think, are, especially the promoted teams, is dependent on the playing style. As you've seen in last year, Burnley play a possession-based football, which doesn't work when you don't have the quality of players. You just get found out, and you're pretty much going to lose all your games because you're just playing a style of play that's not suited to the capabilities of your players. Whereas with Ipswich, they've got he seems like a very competent manager in McKenna, and he adapts to the game and adapts to the situation. So I do think that's why I said earlier on, I touched on Everton relegated and Ipswich and then staying in, because I do really rate McKenna, and when he was linked to Chelsea, I did kind of vouch for him to get in there. So, and in terms of Southampton, they do have some players that have Premier League experience, so that does count for something, but I do think they're going to get relegated, if I'm being completely honest. So, but the only thing that they might have hope is because of that Premier League experience. And with Leicester City, they have lost a lot of players, so that's another issue. So I definitely think with a a lot of the good quality players that have left the club, I think they're going to get relegated also. So yeah.
Fair dues. I can't lie. I mean, I kind of hinted at it earlier already. I was kind of just going to go with Leicester purely on money and squad kind of perspective. But I think you've just changed my mind, guys, because first of all, the manager is obviously a valid reason, but also the play style. I mean, obviously, Steve Cooper isn't exactly going to try to do a company and try with Leicester to be ball possession team. But that in and of itself could be Leicester's problem because that's what they did last year. And now they're going to be completely the opposite end again, most likely. So yeah, I'm probably going to have to agree. And to finish off the kind of the three kind of questions before we do the table itself, what about a surprise package? I'll go first myself. Charlie kind of took it out of my mouth already earlier with his bold prediction. Crystal Palace, because my surprise package are Crystal Palace, and I think they will finish ahead of Villa and Newcastle. I don't know exactly what position that will end up in because you don't know what Spurs and United and us are going to do, especially are we going to get a points deduction as well? We speak about Leicester's points deduction, City's points deduction. We're not out of the question for those either. So let's see what happens. But yeah, my surprise package is Crystal Palace. Pys, what's your surprise package?
It's hard on this one because I want to say West Ham, but then that's a bit boring because they have made some really good signings. I don't know how to determine this though. Like, could it be someone from the bottom that does better, or like someone from the top that does
whatever you define as a surprise package? You can also, like, if for example, I could have easily said the surprise package is Liverpool not making top four. I guess in my mind, right? So
yeah, okay,
that is one kind of surprise. City not winning the league is a surprise. Ipswich staying up in a way is a bit of a surprise. So I guess whichever kind of is the biggest surprise in your mind of anything that you could consider.
I'll go with Spurs not making top six.
Oh, that's brilliant. Love that.
Yeah.
Big fan of this prediction. Absolutely. Go with that. Dimitar, why don't I come to you? Who's your surprise package of the league? Like I say, that can be positive or negative.
I guess for me,
don't say Chelsea, please.
No. I guess for me, for me, it would not be surprising, but I see a lot of people, like maybe you guys as well, and a lot of people online thinking that Liverpool could flop. In my opinion, I think that they did the whole process of changing the manager as best as they could have done, where Klopp just leaves basically a ready-made team, which can perform if there are less injuries. Because last year, Liverpool also had a lot of injuries, I believe, which, like everyone else, damaged their season a lot. So my bold prediction would be Liverpool kind of comfortably, my surprise package, would be Liverpool comfortably being in the top 3, if not top 2, if they manage to remain injury-free, or at least relatively injury-free. Because I think they have a ready-made squad and they have experienced players. And sometimes people forget that, manager can be new, but if you combine a new manager with lack of experience, then you get problems. If you combine a new manager with an experienced side, sometimes you don't know what you will get. Sometimes you get good results, sometimes you get bad results. But I think generally, in their case, they have a good team. So I would say them being in top 3.
Yeah, fair enough. I hope you're wrong. But yeah, there you go. Charlie, coming to you, obviously your bold prediction was in a way already a surprise package, I suppose, if you want to word it that way with Crystal Palace, which I went for now. Do you have a different surprise package, or are in the same vein Palace also your surprise package?
Yes, but I also think Fulham could do quite well.
I was thinking Fulham as well. Yeah, go on.
I also think Fulham could do well. Obviously, it depends who they bring in to replace Palhinha, but like Palace for me would be my one. But I actually think Fulham. I'm not saying they'll qualify for Europe or anything like that, but I think Fulham could surprise a few people and do pretty well. So I'd go. Palace is my main one, but I'll say Fulham because I think they've made some good signings. Smith Rowe will do well for them. Depending on who they get in to replace Palhinha, as I said, I think there's a decent squad there, and they've got the basis of being able to do something, pretty good. So I think Fulham and Palace for me.
I like it. Naishi, why don't I come to you? What do you have as a surprise package? Do you have anyone particular in mind?
This might not particularly be seen as a surprise package, but I actually do think Chelsea is the surprise package. I think we're going to be
In a good or a bad way?
In a good way. I think
Okay.
surprisingly we're going to be comfortably in top four. I really do think there's going to be a little gap between that fourth and fifth. And I know the only thing that might kind of put doubt in my opinion there is about the defense. The defense during that preseason was a bit worrying, but the quality of players, the quality of manager, I rate. So hopefully, if that just kind of goes well and then aligns, it should work well. And I'm hopeful for a couple of trophies as well in the bag. So yeah, that's my surprise package.
I love the optimism. I can't have it myself because I'm too scared to get disappointed, but I love it. Ollie, coming to you, I'm glad that someone said Chelsea, but who is your surprise package? I mean, if you want to be crazy and think of an individual player as a surprise package, obviously be my guest. But as a team, anyone in mind?
Do you know what? I am actually going to go with a player. And I'm going to go with Philogene at Villa.
Okay.
I think he's really going to surprise some people next season. From what I've seen of him, he looks absolutely electric, and I think he's got a really good opportunity now to show what he can do on a big stage. And I think he's going to surprise some people with how good he really is.
I like it. It's a good bold prediction. All right, let's get into the table prediction, shall we? Like, obviously, if I want to zoom all the way out, then we can see all 20, but then none of you can read anything. So that's not particularly useful, is it? So we're going to zoom in. We're going to start at the bottom, and we're going to do this in kind of like stages. Sometimes 3, sometimes 4, 5, so we're not here doing every single prediction alone. I feel like that will take 3.5 hours. Pys, I'll start with you, and I'll make it spicy from the beginning. Tell me your 3 relegated sides. And if you need me to like scroll up so you can see every team, just let me know.
So I have to do it in order or what? As well?
Yes.
20th night. Oh, God.
Yes.
I'm going to go Southampton. No. Southampton last.
Okay.
20th. Leicester 19th.
Okay.
And...
Well, you said Bournemouth, so you're kind of stuck with that.
I said Bournemouth, but now whoever said Everton, I'm like, yeah, it might be decent shit. It's just Dyche though, isn't it? Like he finds a way. It's like
he's the best manager pound for pound in the league.
Yeah, like they signed a couple. They're linked to a couple of players, and I just think
you know what I saw the other day. Sorry to interrupt you. I saw such a funny analogy that called Sean Dyche the Jose Mourinho of Sam Allardyce.
But it's
so accurate.
They've got in attack. I mean, they've signed Ilham and Diaye, who played for Sheffield United once. He's a good player, and they signed I think Lindstrom from Napoli, who I think is quite a good talent. So, you know what? Yeah, Bournemouth 18th, and then okay. I'm happy.
You can
with
still
that.
shift around Everton. I've just put them in 17th for now.
Yeah,
very good.
Oh crap! Has anyone seen that? Sorry, in the chat, Oscar Bob's broken his leg.
What?
Oh. I don't know if it's official, but there's some rumors going around. Yeah.
Oh God.
Well, I do feel bad for him, but thankfully we haven't signed him yet. Not sure if we were ever seriously trying to sign him, but there was flying around at least. Let me get to the next one. So basically, guys, we're gonna do a predictor for everyone, so everyone will have their own little table essentially. And who do I go with next? Why don't I go with you, Naishi? Tell me your bottom 3.
So my bottom 3 would be, as I kind of touched on already, I think Southampton will be last.
Yeah.
And I believe Leicester will be 19th. Just purely because, yes, and then Everton 18th. So that's my bottom 3.
Very good. Appreciate you for keeping it short, and we're not here for 3.5 hours. I like it. Dimitar, I'll come to you. Why don't you give me your bottom 3?
Well, I think Southampton, the fan favorite for the 20th, is going to also be mine.
Yeah.
Then I am going to put Leicester at 19th. And I also
Chelsea
I kind of thought about Bournemouth selling Solanke, and he was basically half their team last season. So let's put Bournemouth at 18th. So I give Ipswich a chance to survive.
Fair dues. Fair dues. And Ollie, coming to you. Sorry, I'll get your table up in a minute. What is your bottom three?
Keep it short.
Gonna make it a full house for Southampton last?
Yeah, they are dead last. They are going to be shit this season. Leicester second last. I don't rate Steve Cooper. He's not even like you know how like people say good managers are bold. He's not even bold. He's bolding. You know.
Yeah.
And then final relegated team. I'm going to go with Forest. I don't rate them very much.
Yeah. See, you kind of took the words out of my mouth because now coming to my own bottom three, I was going to go with Forest as well. Not necessarily because I have such a special great reason for it. I don't know exactly what kind of signings they've made, if they've done good or bad ones. But honestly, I've thought they'd get relegated the last 2 years already. And I just feel like their time is coming at some point.
They're circling the drain.
Exactly. You guys know what I think of stockpiling players. That's all that Forest have done for the last 2 years. Stockpiling players will be your downfall. So I think Nottingham Forest will come 19th. I will still put where's Southampton now? I will still put Southampton last. I'll put Forest 19th, just to be a bit different. But I mean, you boys have just convinced me into it. I think Leicester go down as well. And I'll go with these three. Now, you could make a case for Wolves, I think. Obviously, if Pedro Neto is as great as some of us fans like to make it out, then surely they should be absolutely awful after losing him. But I don't know. I think they're probably good enough to stay up. I don't think they're going to be in 17th necessarily. Coming to you, Charlie, who I know I haven't given you the whole thing yet. Why? I feel like I'm missing one. Why is that? Did I just skip one?
No, I think Charlie's the only one who hasn't gone, right?
Yeah, no, I'm just more which tab have I left open? So Charlie, the reason why I went last for you because I know you need to head off in a couple of minutes already. So I'm essentially almost gonna drag you into doing the whole thing in a row, not fully, but just letting you do it. So I'm basically asking you for the bottom three, and then until the 10, and then I'm going to ask the other guys to do the 10, and then finish your top 10 off, and then you can head off.
No problem, mate. I think Southampton. I think Southampton will be bottom. Seems to be popular consensus. I'd go less than 19th. I'm not really rating him. I don't think Steve Cooper's that great. And then I think Forest could be in a bit of trouble as well because I actually think Ipswich might stay up. So I've got to put Forest 18th. Am I still going?
Yep, keep going until 10.
17th Ipswich.
Okay.
I think they'll just about stay up. I'm going to go 16th Wolves.
Wolves, okay. Oh, already there. There you go.
Already there. 15th, I'm going to go with Brentford.
Okay. Let me just scroll up. 15th, there you go.
I'm then going to go 14th. I'm going to go with... this is where it starts getting a little bit tricky. This might be a bit bold. I actually think... Oh, shit. I've also got Everton. Okay, Everton 14th.
Yeah.
Just because I think they're actually, I think they'll probably be all right. 13th, we're going to go. I think Brighton might be a bit shit this season. I'm going to go 13th Brighton.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I'm going to go with Bournemouth in 12th. Yeah, Bournemouth were 12th last season. I think they'll probably be all right again. I'll go Bournemouth 12th. And then we're going to go, having said they're going to be a surprise, might be a surprise package, I think Fulham are probably going to be 11th.
Yeah. Well, 11th for them would be a decent season, wouldn't it? So
yeah. Like last season.
Yeah. Did they finish 11th last year as well?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
There you go. Do you want to just do 10th as well now? Let's leave it at the bottom half and leave it at the
bottom half, yeah.
Very good. Very good. I'll go through the other boys up to 11th, and then you can finish it off with your top half. Meaning, Pys, we're back on you. I'll bring the first table up again. Obviously, your bottom three of Southampton, Leicester, and Bournemouth. What will be your teams between 17th and 11th?
Oh God, I don't like doing this because I like usually I'll put someone somewhere and then I think, oh no, and it takes me forever. So
yeah.
Wait, you need to scroll down. Okay. Let's go. I keep Everton 17th. I think they'll just
Okay.
about survive. Forest
Sure.
16th.
Yep.
You have
Well-
Ipswich as well.
Shit, yeah. Where's Ipswich? It's because they're at the top.
They are here 8th currently. Let me put them a bit down so you can see them.
Fulham, Brighton. Okay.
You've also got like Brentford up there, Brighton up there, Fulham up
Okay.
there.
Go back down. 16th, I'll go with Ipswich.
Okay.
Let's do
Then
that.
you
Let's
leave
do-
Forest in 15th or higher?
Yeah, Brentford. Wolves 14th. Who else have we got up there? Who's up the
Brentford and Brighton mainly for those positions, I would say. Maybe Fulham.
top? Let's scroll back down.
Sure.
It's got Brentford, Brighton 13th.
Okay.
Their new manager is like the youngest manager in Prem history, isn't he? So
Yeah, he is.
I'm gonna say I think they could be in for a rough one. And then it's what Brentford
They're
and
also
who?
losing a lot of players, aren't they? Like they lost Pascal
Yeah.
Gross. It seems like they might lose Billy Gilmore to Napoli.
Oh,
like-
yeah, Pascal Gross is a massive loss. You know what? I might actually go. You know what? I like Nottingham Forest's squad. I'm gonna put Brighton 15th.
Okay. And switch
I
these
like-
two or put Forest below Wolves?
No, Forest above Wolves. I like their squad. I think they might do decent. This is
Okay.
probably a bold table prediction, but
Hey,
I don't
there you
mind.
go. But I mean, everybody watching, if you've ever done this yourself, you can do the bottom three, the top 4, 5, but in between, it's so difficult. Like it's so like Pies, to be fair, is probably best suited to this. But realistically, none of us are going to know all the transfers that all of these teams are going to have done. So obviously,
That's
we're
mainly
purely
what I'm
going
thinking
off vibes,
of, to be
so to look like
fair.
an idiot at the end of the season.
It's mainly transfer activity and the managers. So
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I'm gonna
yeah.
drag Brentford down here for you so you can see them. Maybe it's a bit easier to like have them in mind as well, because I feel like surely they've got to be coming up soon now.
It's so hard though, because I feel like if they lose Tony, they're fucked. So it's like,
Yeah, but also he
and
didn't
also-
really do much second half
no,
of the
but
season, did he?
like Visser, they got that guy Visser, and he might be going
Yeah.
to Wolves. So it's like,
Ooh.
oh god, this is really difficult. Fucking hell, I don't actually know. Now you know what, Brentford 15th. We'll have them as a stinker. Let's
Okay.
put Brighton. Let's put Brighton 12th. I think I've been a bit harsh on them. I really like their new forward, Minter. He's a good player. Got Joao Felix. Yeah, they got a good squad. And actually, I'll have Forest in 15th. Actually,
Below Brentford.
Brentford then above Wolves,
Okay, sure.
and then who have I got left? The other two.
West Ham, Fulham, Palace.
Oh, Fulham. Yeah, Fulham have got to be next. Fulham in 11th.
There you go. Perfect. So
Yeah.
we've got prices 17th to 11th: Everton, Ipswich, Forest, Wolves, Brentford, Brighton, and Fulham. Very nice. Now, who had Everton in the relegation zone? Was it you, Dimitar? No.
No, I had someone else. I
It was
had
Nesh.
Bournemouth.
Was it Neshi? There you go.
Yeah,
Okay,
it was
so
me. Yeah, it was me. Who had,
because unfortunately, it's not letting me name the tables, is it? So I was like, hold up, who's next now? So let me get the Everton in the relegation zone up. So please, guys, keep roughly in mind who you're putting somewhere. So if I don't remember which one's which, you can help me out with that one. So, Neshi, you're 17th to 11th.
Yeah, this one's a bit difficult. Yeah, after relegation. So I would. It's a difficult
I'll
one.
drag the teams that are more likely to be down bottom. and
Yeah.
drag them
I
down
think
so
if you do
can
that,
keep-
it'll be a bit easier to view. Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's better. Okay, I would put Bournemouth 17th.
Okay.
Then I would put Ipswich Town,
Sure. 16th.
and then I would put Fulham.
Okay.
And I rate Nottingham Forest, so I'll put them next after Fulham's.
Forest after Fulham. Okay.
Yeah.
14th.
Yeah. It gets difficult now.
So we've got Brentford,
I
Brighton.
put Brighton. I put Brighton there.
So 13th.
Yeah. And then
You're
West
expecting a
Ham.
lot of Wolves, I feel like.
Sorry?
You're expecting quite a lot from Wolves, I feel like.
I really rate the manager. Honestly, he's a very
Yeah,
talented manager. Like he's underrated to me, in my opinion. But yeah, I put Brentford next.
Okay. 12.
Then Wolves, and then West Ham. Yeah,
we'll leave it at 11th, but sure.
Yeah, 11. Yeah,
West Ham 10th. Wonderful. So we've got the next 17th to 11th: Bournemouth, Ipswich, Fulham, Forest, Brighton, and Brentford and Wolves. I do like this. See, this is I feel vindicated because if we did like obviously I wouldn't have gotten 6 people on, but still, if we did like a combined thing, it would have been here. Like there would have never been an agreement to anything. So I actually quite enjoy that we're having different predictions as such. If you want to, who put Bournemouth in the bottom 3?
That was me.
That was you, Dimitar. So, Dimitar, you're next up. Let me just bring it up. Should be the 4th one. Nope, should not be. Should be the 3rd one. There you go. So, Bournemouth in the bottom 3. So, who would be your 17th to 11th then, bro? Shall I also drag the lesser teams down a little bit?
Yeah, actually, Brentford, you can just keep dragging them down to the 7th
Okay.
place.
I think Dimitar just doesn't like London.
Yeah, so let's go Brentford 16th, then Ipswich 15th.
Oh, 16th or 17th, Brentford?
Okay, that's fine. So 16th Ipswich,
Okay.
then Wolves 15th. I like that. Then let's say Nottingham Forest 14th.
Sure.
Let's go Everton for 13th.
Okay.
I am betting a lot on them not getting more point deductions.
Yeah.
Then let's go Brighton 12th.
Okay.
And can you scroll up so I see if I have not missed it?
Yeah.
Crystal. Okay, so Crystal Palace 11th.
Okay. And then
Yeah,
we'll leave it
and
at that for now.
Yeah, let's leave it at that. Yeah.
Wonderful. All right. So we've got Brentford, Ipswich, Wolves, Forest, Everton, Brighton, Palace, and what's that? Well, no, just Palace. Interesting to me that you put Palace in the bottom half of the table. I expect quite a lot of them. But then again, obviously, they lost Olise. They might lose 1 or 2 others, like where he...
They are very injury prone as well. So one injury
Yeah.
to Eze or Mateta, and they're basically fighting for relegation.
Yeah, I guess. All right. What is the next one? We have Forest in the bottom 3. I did
That was
that.
me.
And who else did that? Did you do that, Ollie?
Yeah, it was.
There you go. So, Ollie, why don't you give me your 17th to 11th? Shall I once again drag down certain names so it's a bit easier to think of them all? Because otherwise they are easy to get lost. Go on.
I'm going to go with 17th Bournemouth,
Bournemouth, yeah, I like it.
16th Ipswich,
Sure.
15th Everton.
Oh, Everton,
I think
sorry.
they will get a points deduction, but they'll do enough to stay up.
Are you kind of including the point deduction in your placing of them?
I am, yeah. Then Brentford in 14th.
Sure. Brentford, 14th.
Just a very sort of like Brentford position, isn't it? 14th.
It's true.
Wolves 13th.
Okay, leave them there.
Fulham 12th.
Brighton, maybe.
And Brighton
Fulham
11th.
12th. Wonderful. Brighton 11th. Yeah, I like it. It's changing it up always a little bit. Bournemouth, Ipswich, Everton, Brentford, Wolves, Fulham, and Brighton. I'll quickly do mine, Charlie, before I let you do essentially finish yours. If I come to mine, it's a tricky one because part of me, I think Pice made a good point earlier in that, like Brighton with the manager, like I say, losing Pascal Gross, losing Billy Gilmore potentially, like that's their midfield gone. Obviously they got Mo Dahoud still, but like it's a reason he left Dortmund last year. And did anyone see anything great from him last year? I didn't, but that doesn't necessarily mean everything. To be realistic, I don't know if it's realistic, but in my head it is. I'll put Ipswich 17th. I'll go with whoever talked to me about the Wolves manager being quite good. Kind of roped me into that one.
Yeah, it was myself. Yeah.
Fulham. You know what? I'm just going to be a bit bold. I'm going to put Brentford 16th. I'm going to put Wolves 15th. I'm going to put I'm going to put Bournemouth 15th. I'm going to Wolves 14th. I'm going to put Everton 13th. Like Ollie said, with the points deduction, it's very difficult to really judge where they're going to end up. I'm going to put Brighton. You know what? I'm actually going to put Brighton below Everton because, like I say, the manager losing quite a few players. Let's see. Obviously, they still have some other good players, but I don't know. Also, I hope for Brighton's downfall. So, yeah, there you go. Then I'm going to put, Fulham 11th. I think that's somewhat reasonable. So I've gone with Ipswich, Brentford, Bournemouth, Wolves, Brighton, Everton, and Fulham. Charlie, coming to you because I don't want to keep you too long because I do know you need to head off. 10th upwards. Now it's getting spicy. Who are you expecting to come 10th?
This is where it gets a bit difficult. Fuck. I'll probably go Palace 10th.
Okay.
I'll go West Ham 9th.
Sure.
Newcastle 8th.
Okay.
Spurs can stay 7th.
Okay. You really reckon Villa are going to be that high again with Champions League football?
Shit. Yeah. Now put Villa 6th.
Okay.
Actually swap new Spurs and Man United.
Oh, Spurs
So
and Man United.
Yeah.
So wait, who's then 8th? Sorry.
Newcastle. Stay Newcastle 8th. Put Villa 6th. Sorry, I think Villa will be 6th. United 7th. I don't rate United that much at all. And then I go Chelsea 4th.
Okay.
3rd Liverpool. City to win it again, and then Arsenal 2nd.
Fair dues. That is Charlie's top 10.
It doesn't look that bad, but it's probably going to be miles out.
Yeah, especially like between.
But them like European spots the European spots are so hard to do.
Yeah,
like I feel a bit bad putting West Ham 9th because I think they've made some really good signings, but you got no idea how it's all going to fit together.
Yeah, absolutely. It is really tricky. Like it absolutely is tricky. But City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, Spurs, Villa, United, Newcastle, West Ham, and Crystal Palace. Yeah, I mean it's tough.
It's not bad.
No, it's not bad. It's not bad. I think you've been a bit harsh maybe on Palace, on West Ham and United, but you could also be spot on. So it's difficult to judge, I think.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, look, I'm not expecting that to be right at all, but I think it's a pretty decent guess.
I think so too. Charlie, I know you need to head off, so thank you very, very much for giving us your time. Ladies and gentlemen, please be sure to subscribe to Charlie's channel, The Blue Brother, or Blue Brother CFC, as the ad actually is. Link is down in the description as always. Subscribe to Charlie. Charlie, thank you very much for coming on. And, come the end of the season, we will let you know whether you're an idiot or whether you got it spot on.
Cheers, lads. Nice one. Good to catch up. Enjoy the rest of the show, people.
Have a good one. Cheers, bro.
Cheers, Charlie.
Guys.
Pice, I think you're back up. And now it's getting spicy. At least I made Charlie go before you now, so you don't have to be the first one to figure out the top 10. But who are you putting in the top 10, and what order are you placing them in?
Yeah, it's very difficult. This actually, I was listening to Charlie do it, and I was like, yeah, I don't know.
But actually, I just let Charlie do all the way to 10th. How about you do 10th to 5th, but not including 5th? So 10th, 9th, 8th, 7th. And 6th, and then we'll leave the top 5 for as the last section.
Okay. 10th will go Palace. 10th will go Palace. Yeah.
Yep.
9th. Oh, 9th. Yeah. No. Yeah, I have to go West Ham. I think I have to. As much good signings as they've made, I'm looking at Newcastle's home form and stuff like that, and I'm like, Tottenham, Newcastle. So we're doing up until 6th, yeah?
Yeah.
Manu.
Villa, you've got up here as well, by the way. Just so you
No,
don't miss
no, it's so difficult. Yeah, we'll go Villa 8th.
Okay,
Europe, yeah, Champions League might hurt them a bit.
I hear that.
Then 7th and 6th. Oh,
They're the spicy ones, aren't they?
I'm gonna put Newcastle 7th.
Okay.
6th. Right. It's either
Between these two for you, isn't it?
but also us if we don't I don't know, man. Like, it's so difficult because like I do believe in the squad a lot more than other people. So I think you guys make great points about the Conference League as well. So 6th. You know what? I'm gonna go Man United 6th. Yeah.
Okay.
Man United.
And we'll leave
6th.
the top 5 to be decided. We'll leave the top 5 to be decided. Palace, West Ham, Villa, Newcastle, and Man United. I mean, this isn't crazy out there now. It's more that what's out there is that you don't think any of these kind of on the verge teams, Newcastle, Villa, West Ham, are going to beat any of the Spurs, United, us. That's kind of the most out there thing about it, isn't it? But let me continue. I'm pretty sure next in line was Naishi, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just see if that was right. Does that sound like you, Naishi, putting Wolves 11th?
Yes, that was me. Yeah,
Wonderful, wonderful. So why don't you give me your 10th to 6th?
10th to 6th. Okay, so who do I have left? So yeah, I'll put Crystal Palace from 10th.
Okay.
10th, yeah. I would then put West Ham. I think that's perfect. Newcastle, that's perfect also.
Nice.
And then I'll put Spurs.
Spurs 6th. So you keep Villa in top 5?
No,
Oh, sorry.
I actually think, like I said, Villa are going to do well, so I will put them 6th.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. I like it, keeping it a bit spicy. I wonder if we're all going to put Palace 10th, West Ham 9th, and Newcastle 8th. I won't, because I said in my bold prediction, I think I'm going to finish it. But I wonder if all of you guys are going to do it, because it's so difficult, especially with West Ham signing. It's if you put them 10th, it kind of feels harsh, but it also still could very much happen. I don't know. Let's see. Next one was... Who was that then? Bournemouth in
I
18th.
think that was me. I put
Yes.
Bournemouth in the relegation zone.
Yes, I think it was. So, Dimitar, from you, please. 10th to 6th.
Okay, so around here is where I'm gonna get kicked off the show. So let's say Fulham in 10th.
Okay, well, at least we're not the worst team in West London.
I think I'm actually gonna keep West Ham 9th.
Okay.
Let's move Newcastle to 7th.
Okay.
And
I already said
unfortunately, Newcastle to 8th, I meant. Newcastle to 8th, I meant.
Okay.
And unfortunately, I think we are going to be around 7th. So let's put us 7th.
Okay. Well, better than you said earlier, so it's something.
Yeah,
I know.
I thought about Newcastle, and I thought about because Pai said he's looking at transfers. Their transfers have been abysmal. I mean, I don't like our transfers, but they have done basically nothing. They can't get rid of players. They can't sign players. So 8th might actually be overestimating Newcastle if they don't get their grip
But they
together.
have no Champions League this season, though. So
They have, but they are also injury prone. And I'm not sure that you can go from having basically the second or third most injuries in a season to having none. It doesn't work like that normally.
no.
And if you
not
don't
usually.
upgrade the squad, or if you don't even shuffle a couple of players to get some variety in there. But yeah, let's say Newcastle 8th, a 7th, and I think Man United for 6th.
Right, can I ask you why? Because, what makes you think Spurs will finish ahead of United and us?
Well, for Spurs, I think that they signed Solanke, which guarantees a certain level of goals. Now, will he score 20 goals again? Probably not. Will he score more than Richarlison? Probably yes. So also keep in mind they're the second season under Ange, and maybe he learned some stuff because he looks like a cool guy and he looks like a smart coach. I think he's not going to make the same mistake twice. Now, does that mean that they will be flying off the bat? Probably not. But I think they have a better squad than Man United. I think they have a better manager than Man United. They have a better manager than us, which is up for debate, but let's say they have. And I think their squad is probably more experienced than ours, which is very strange for me to say that Tottenham have a more experienced squad than Chelsea. But if you look at it, it's kind of like that.
But
I think.
they, like, how many experienced players do they have left now? Son?
Well,
Yeah, the thing is with Son as well. He's kind of like
He's kind of old now.
he's kind of falling off a bit. You know, like Son was.
I was thinking that.
world-class,
He did fuck all last season, didn't he?
Yeah, it's
Like,
hard.
still
one
by
with Spurs.
Son levels, mind you. Like, he still probably scored, 13, 14 goals? I don't know. But
I was going to say,
But imagine Solanke gets like 10 goals. You know, like Spurs are fucked. It's just I have them up there as well because I think Solanke is going to do well in their system. But Dimitar, if we sign Osimhen, would you change things?
yeah, I'd probably move us 8th.
You'd move us down.
Not even
to
joking.
move us down.
You'd move us down if we signed Osimhen.
Yeah, because
I love doing
Bro, is there
Let me
assignment
clarify.
you're like, holy shit.
let me clarify. I
go on, clarify.
I think I said it earlier. I think we have zero transfer strategy. So by this point, signing Osimhen means nothing to me because I am pretty sure that the manager does not want him, the board wants him. And if we sign Osimhen, this means that they will just give Osimhen to Maresca. They will have spent a lot of money on him. They will pay him loads of wages, and he will have to be a guaranteed starter. And as I said, if we count Enzo, Caicedo, Palmer, Osimhen, and if you put one more player in there, let's say Levi Colwill, which should be a guaranteed starter.
And Kunku
This
as well?
and yeah. So if you have to shoehorn in basically 4 players for
But
5 attacking
these are
positions,
top quality players, though.
these are top quality players, but knowing that the manager doesn't choose his starting 11, how much time do you think Maresca will last if results don't go our way? And that's the problem, because last year many fans and many of you thought that it was Poch that because we were so bad, which is fine, okay. But then when he got officially sacked or removed, there was a lot of news, which let's say could be true, could not be true, that during the season he had multiple conversations where he was trying to point out to the board and to the people above him that he doesn't see Enzo in the future in his formation. And I think the fact that we played probably some of our best games during the last 4 or 5 match days when we didn't have Enzo proves that maybe Poch didn't want him or he did not know how to use him.
Yeah, no, that's what. No,
If
I
the
get
same
your
thing
point.
happens,
No,
but if the same thing happens, and if Maresca decides, okay, let's say one player, let's say he doesn't want Caicedo, for example, he does not have the option not to use him.
No, I
And I
get
think
you,
this
but
is
it's
a very
different.
big problem.
No, but no, I 100% get you, but it's different though because they're different style. They have different styles.
No,
You know what I mean?
I
Like,
agree.
How is Maresca not going to like players like Enzo and Caicedo?
No.
Obviously,
thing is-
Poch will like Gallagher because he suits his high intensity system. You know, it's different.
I know, but for me, starting the season with your manager just not having the options to experiment, even if he wanted to, is not a good policy. I also don't think that we know what we're doing with transfers because, guys, let's be honest. They announced, or Omorodion was almost announced, Gallagher was almost announced, and now this whole deal swap thingy may collapse because we decided last second we don't want him, or either someone made a mistake in negotiating the contract, or some weird stuff.
Or Omorodion failed a medical, which that is also not a particularly impressive sign because I'm like, we've scouted him for God knows how long, supposedly. What do you mean he's now failing a medical? Like, what have the scouts figured out over the last 4 months then?
Even if that's the truth, let's say he failed the medical and our guys have no fault in that, let's say, then now we're looking at Joao Felix. And I am sorry, but looking at Joao Felix 24 hours after you signed Pedro Neto, for me makes no sense because he's just another player who is not a striker, who is not a midfielder, and who is basically not a winger. So where are all these people going to play? Who is going to play Nkunku, Palmer, Neto, or Joao Felix if we sign him tomorrow? And if
Honestly,
they all play together, how?
I don't know the answer to that question either, but I'm not sure if that necessarily puts us further down the table.
Well, for me, these decisions prove that there is no, I mean, we knew that, but there is no coherence between transfer strategy and between what is going on the pitch. They are just buying players. And
Yeah.
even if we like the players, even if we say Osimhen is a very good striker, even if we say Pedro Neto is very good at what he does, which I don't know what this is, even if we say Palmer is the best number 8, even if we say Nkunku is the best number 10, and 10 more statements like that, they can't all play together. And they may not be in the plans of Maresca. And this is what concerns me, because we spent the entire May and June talking about how we want to build around Maresca. But right now, what I'm seeing is the club are completely not building around Maresca. They're just doing the same thing that they would have done if Poch was still at the club. Because if Poch was still at the club, all of these transfers would still be the same. I see no difference in policy. Because back then the policy was we do what we want, the manager is irrelevant. And the policy now seems to be we do what we want, the manager is irrelevant.
How do you know, though, that Maresca doesn't want these players?
Because I don't think that anyone with any level of sanity would sign Dewsbury Hall, Pedro Neto, and Joao Felix after he has Nkunku and Palmer, after he has Enzo Lavia and Caicedo.
But isn't that the whole point?
Especially in that system.
We want more depth this season because there's more games and we had a lot of injuries last.
The only problem that I have with depth, sure, but then we have too much depth in some positions and not enough in others. Which
what happens if Levi Colwill gets injured? Then what?
We
have zero depth.
We've got Tosin, we've got Badia Shil, we've got other players.
I think we can all agree that defense is probably our biggest issue.
But we've still
going
got
into the
depth.
season.
We still got depth, though.
Yeah,
still got depth.
Not very good depth, though.
Yeah, but even when we're playing right now, like you saw Gusto last game, he started as a right centre back. James there as well. Like you've got with the way we play that you can even Cucurella, you can put these back in the defence.
But what is the way we play in? Will we play a high line? Will we play a medium line? Will we play with 2 defensive midfielders? Will we play with a converting wing back for the entire season? We don't know that. And I am sure that even if we win every single one of our first 8 games, let's say like Spurs did last year, we will not be able to continue in the same system because team will just find us out. So my entire point is if you keep buying players just for the sake of it, and if you keep buying starting 11 high-profile players, then you're just limiting the options of the manager.
So you think even if we win our first 8 games, we're still doomed this season?
Oh, no. If we win our first 8 games, we'll probably finish 4th or 5th. Because starts and finish, because if you start strongly, it can carry you like Spurs got carried last season. And if you start poorly, it can hamper your season like it did with us, because we finished, I think, 4 points behind top 4. So, and our first 10 to 12 games were horrendous.
Looking at like the history of Chelsea, I think with us traditionally it's more about that. What is it, like the November, December period? That's when we usually that makes or breaks our season. And I mean, looking at our fixtures this season, they're actually pretty favourable for the first time in like 5 years.
I'm not saying the team can't click. It's just that for me, how I see it, it would not make sense if we start the season strong and if we play good football and if everyone's fit and everyone's happy.
We are playing good football though. I don't get it. Like we are. I know we're losing the pre-season games, but on the ball we're good. I'm sure that if the first 5 games we win only 1 and lose 4, the playing style will have absolutely no argumentation in the discourse. But that's another story. I'm just not convinced. I am happy to be proven wrong. I will be very happy if the team overperforms. I will be very happy if everyone is fit. I will be very happy if everyone is happy, and I will be very happy if Maresca actually wants these players and has a vision for them. If some of
Pendurance here in the chat made an interesting point, because obviously there was this, in my opinion, club PR brief when this Felix link started to come out, that supposedly the reason we didn't permanently sign him last year was because Poch didn't want him. So, which I guess that in and of itself means that the manager doesn't have at least 0 say. But first of all, is that even true? Second of all, could they have not regretted that decision and now not give the manager any power anymore? Because they're like, well, if we let Poch decide in the summer, then the manager is going to ask for things in January and the summer after and the summer after. So we just never let them have anything, then they won't start asking. I don't know if that's their plan. I have no idea. But so, Dimitar, are you all right with these current 10th to 6th?
I'm not all right with them, but I think that's how it's going to go. Sadly for us.
Ollie, let's come to you and get your 10th to 6th. I think this is yours, isn't it? Yes, there you go. So far, we've got West Ham, Spurs, Newcastle, Palace, and Man United there. How are you changing the order?
10th Spurs because they're a small club.
Good. I like it.
Palace 9th.
Okay.
West Ham 8th.
Okay.
United 7th.
Sure.
And Villa 6th.
Huh. Interesting. Expecting a fairly good season of Newcastle. Then I like it. Is it when you put Man United 7th? Is that and a couple of you guys have put them in fairly low positions? Is that purely thinking they will be bad, or is that kind of on the basis of the last few years? How will they all of a sudden be good? So they've got to be bad.
Yeah, it is a little bit like that. I don't rate Ten Hag at all. I think their squad has probably gotten better from last season. I think it's improved a bit with the transfers in and out that they've made. But man, they were rocking up to like the Community Shield with Johnny Evans at the back. Like, that's just not going to run in the Premier League. Maybe, like they're not planning on playing him that much in those positions. I can't say, they've just bought De Ligt and whatnot. But I don't know. I think when you've got someone like Ten Hag at the wheel, who they were shopping out his job to everybody in the summer and they just couldn't find anyone who wanted to take it.
Now they're signing all his ex-players. Like, that club is a mess, man.
Yeah, like it's a bit like us in a sense where it's like, how can you expect them to do that well in the league when it seems like stuff around the club always seems to be in flux and changing and in a bit of chaos,
Yep. No, absolutely. I don't even fully disagree with you. I haven't fully decided where I'm going to put Man United. I was just curious about, a bit like you guys convinced me with reasonable points about Ipswich. So I thought maybe someone has a reasonable point to convince me in that direction. Let me
I think
try.
Generally speaking, I just think there are 6 teams that are better than United.
Yeah.
I don't think that's that controversial.
No, it isn't. It isn't controversial, if I'm honest. I will put... Boy, tough. I literally said earlier that I think Palace will finish ahead of Villa and Newcastle. And now I'm questioning my decision. It said that earlier. So I'm gonna put... It's a bit harsh now, but I'm gonna put Villa 10th. I just think...
You think the Champions League's really going to knock them out of kilter?
Yeah, essentially. And also they lost, who was it?
Douglas
Not Leon
Luiz.
Bailey, the other one.
Douglas Luiz.
Douglas Luiz left. And didn't one of the wingers go to Saudi?
Oh, Diaby, yeah.
Diaby.
Yeah, Diaby, yeah.
So, I mean, Watkins staying is obviously fairly big. And obviously there's still 2 weeks off the transfer window where they could make signings. They clearly do have money. I mean, supposedly they offered 57 million for Gallagher. So I would probably expect them to still make a couple of signings, which could change everything. But as of now, not having really, unless I'm forgetting someone, obviously they added Onana from Everton, but sure, he's all right, but I don't think he's going to be good enough to be that drastic of an impact when you have Champions League and the league. And obviously with there being even an extra 2 group stage games in the Champions League this season, meaning the Champions League affects you throughout more of the season, I just think it's going to hamper them. That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to put Spurs 9th. Don't know why. Like Ollie said, small club. I'm going to put West Ham 8th. I'm going to put Palace 7th.
Wow.
And because I don't know. Obviously, if they get injuries, like you said, and if they also lose Eze still, could not work. But I don't know. I'm a back my guy, Ollie Glasner. Do you know what I mean? Who am I going to put 6th, though? United. Yeah, I'm going to put United 6th. So my 10th to 6th is going to be Villa, Spurs, West Ham, Palace, Man United. Do I really believe that Spurs are going to come 9th? Honestly, no. But West Ham have signed really well. And because I said earlier, Palace will finish ahead of them, I felt obliged to now put them higher. So this is how we ended up here. You know what? I'm going to do a whole reversal on you just because I feel a bit bad for poor Pice and always making him go first. So I'm going to do my 1st to 5th and kind of go in reverse order to what we had so far and let Pice finish it off, essentially. I'm going to go with City first again. I want to say there's a chance of points deduction, and if they get it, they won't. But I don't know, do I? So I'm going to.
Funny if they win with point deduction.
Yeah, that would be hilarious. That would be utterly hilarious. I don't know, man. Because now that I've put United 6th, right? And I earlier said Liverpool don't make top 4. That means Newcastle make top 4. And that means we make top 4. What am I doing now? Oh, flip's sake. Because that's my problem. Like, people know, people think of this anyway. I'm quite negative towards Chelsea, but it's different when I'm comparing us to other clubs. Then I can't, then obviously, I guess club patriotism comes out, and then I'm like, well, we're not worse than those lot. Do you know what I mean? Even if we're shit, we're not worse than those lot. So here we are. I don't know. Maybe I have to change my order again. I think I might have to revert my statement of Liverpool not finishing in the top 4 because we're not coming third. Newcastle ain't coming third, are they? Okay, so I'm changing my mind from what I said earlier. Sorry. I put in Liverpool third, Newcastle 5th. I'm putting us 4th. This is more trying to, talking it into existence, manifestation, than that I truly believe that we will just simply finish 4th. But it's possible. So this is the top 5 I'm going to go for. Yeah. I could be looking like an idiot in about 10 months' time, but hey, I look like an idiot most of the time anyway. So here we are. Ollie, why don't you give me your top 5? I feel like you've left yourself a bit of an easier job than I did. So good luck. What do you reckon? Up to you whether you go 1 to 5 or 5 to 1.
Yeah, I'll start from 5. At 5th, I think it's going to be us. I think we're going to be 5th. Where I'm actually going with that is I actually think we'll have enough points to get 4th and we'll get a points deduction.
Okay.
That's what I'm going with. 4th, I'm going to go
I
with
was
Newcastle.
considering putting us in a relegation zone and saying they're going to kill us with points deduction and deduct 40 points or something mental.
Newcastle, I'm going to go 4th. Last time they weren't in Europe, they came 4th. And their squad is better
Roughly
now.
the same.
And you're better now with a bit more experience from that point as well. 3rd, Liverpool.
Okay.
I just can't see them falling off that hard that they wouldn't get top 4. 2nd, Man City, and unfortunately, 1st, I think it's going to be Arsenal.
Is that including points deduction again, or purely on sporting?
No, that's just purely on a sporting thing. I think the reason I've put Arsenal 1st is because 2 seasons ago they came 2nd and they sort of threw it away. It's kind of late on. Last season they left it till the final day, or literally the last couple games really where they fell to bits. But they still could have won the title on the final day. And I just think that shows that sign of progression for them, and it's just going to be not going to be enough.
Have they added much or anything this summer so far? I mean, they could.
I think adding Caliafiore, is that how you say his name? Yeah, I think adding him's been useful. They're going to get Timber back as well, who was injured basically all of last season. I just can't not see them doing it this season. I don't know. Maybe City get a bit more motivation to do it, for the first time, be the first team to do it 5 times in a row. But if not, I could see Arsenal breaking some hearts.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'd be very miserable if Arsenal win the league because their fans are absolutely unbearable, both online and in person, if you know them. But at least it would be a bit more interesting, I guess, to not have the same champion for the 5th season in a row, I suppose. But yeah. Let's see how it goes. Let me, like I say, in reverse order. I'm pretty sure we're now with Dimitar. So, Dimitar, why don't you give me your top 5? And again, your choice, whether you go 1 to 5 or 5 to 1.
I think I'm going to go Tottenham in 5th.
Okay.
So then Aston Villa in 4th again.
Bloody hell. That's if that comes true, that's impressive from Villa. I can't lie.
I think here my argumentation would be that they would actually go out in the group stage. And since there is no sliding down in the next tournament, if they go out in January, this basically means that for the most important 4 months of the season, they would not have Europe. And I think that, for example, the other teams, let's say Tottenham and Manchester United and us, we will probably pass the group stages of the Europa League and as the Conference League.
Yeah.
You also have Liverpool. They will also probably pass the stage of the Champions League. Arsenal, City as well. So if such a scenario happens where Villa go out of the Champions League, then it will be easier for them, I think. And I also...
How does the Champions League... Isn't there going to be 2 tables? And then what the top...
I actually have no idea, but
it one table? I don't even know.
I know that the same amount of teams should play. So basically, you have to have 16 teams which go out of the groups. And considering that there are 32 teams, and I think Villa
they're not adding around, are they? No.
yeah,
no,
they're not. They're not adding around. Yeah. So and also Villa, they will have 0 coefficients. So they will probably play your Real Madrids. They will play your Barcelonas, Bayern Munich. So it's not like they're going to be going to Kazakhstan or somewhere else. They will most probably play the tough games. And also keep in mind they will play 4 home game and 4 away games, but not against the same opponents. So there is not this chance where you lose to Bayern in Munich, but then you get them back here to Villa Park and beat them. You can very well have to play Bayern at home and then
now,
Real
that's
Madrid.
mental anyway, right? Like just quickly, that is, if I'm not 1,000% sure if what you said there is true, but if that is the case, that it's you have 4 home games, 4 away games, but not against the same teams. That's
I think
because
that's
going to change the fairness of the competition drastically. If you don't because it makes such a difference. Like, okay, Newcastle aren't in the Champions League this season, but imagine if you're a club from, say, Italy, and you've got Newcastle. If you play Newcastle in Italy, you're probably winning. If you play Newcastle in Newcastle, you ain't winning. So, like, it changes drastically if you don't have home and away. I think that's a bit crazy. But yeah, if that's what they're going to do.
If you want a bit of a conspiracy theory, I think this is the fastest way we get to play Champions League games in the US. Because now there is no fairness. If you remove the away and home legs, then you don't have to worry about fairness because it doesn't matter if you play one time Real Madrid in the US and then the next time Inter in China, for example. But enough of that.
European champion, like, do you know what I mean? Like, if you play, like, I already think it's stupid for the domestic leagues, but if you play a European competition in America, might as well just scrap it being European and just include everyone. Like, at that point, and just do the Club World Cup throughout the season almost every year. Like, it would almost be more sense in that then. But I hear what you're saying. But Dimitar, finish off the order of the top 3.
I'm gonna go a bit spicy. I'm gonna say Liverpool first, City second, and Arsenal third. If
Slot wins the first time round,
I just can't say. I know it's probably not gonna happen, but I just can't say Arsenal first, and I don't want City to win it.
But you're saying Arsenal second or City?
Arsenal third. Arsenal third.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, I don't know a lot of Arsenal fans personally, but the ones I do are absolutely extremely annoying. So I just can't deal with it. I can't. I don't want to.
No, fair dues. Hey, I like that you've changed it up. So I do find that positive. Naishi, I'll come to you. Your top 5. What you're saying? You've got Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City, and United left. You've kind of kept all the big guns for the top 5. What order are you putting them in, bro?
Yeah, so I'll go from top to bottom. I think it's easier for me to make a decision that way. So as I touched on earlier in the stream about Arsenal as one of my surprise, and I'm going to go along with that. And Ali touched on a few good points as well, which, like, as I said about, I really think they've been pushing that first time they challenged. They were kind of, they didn't have the kind of stomach for it. They kind of faltered towards the end, and whereas the last season they kept with Man City, and I think they won 11 to 12 games in a row as much as City. So now they have the mentality. Unfortunately, I think they are gonna push it edge it this time, and then I'm gonna go with Man City second, because I feel like they've already broken that record. The motivation actually won't be there, like, really and truly. Like, they've done 4 in a row, and that's
what I'm saying. If Pep announces that he leaves, that makes them win it again, I think, because that then gives them the motivation. But I like, as much as I'd rather City than Arsenal, I think you have a point. Like, at some point, as much as Pep is a crazy manager and manages to get that hunger out of all of his players constantly, there has to be a drop off at some point. Like, surely they won the treble, then they still won the league, and I mean, they bought the FA Cup, I guess, but surely I think they're probably more likely to win the Champions League again and maybe not win the league or something. But
yeah, exactly. You see, yeah, I'll agree with something like that. Like, I think they'll probably will go on to win the Champions League again, and also there's a lot of things going behind the scenes. Like I said, I touched on it. De Bruyne is not starting games. There's Grealish is not himself. Martinez leaving. Look at what we just heard about.
Alvarez, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why I said one. Yeah, Alvarez and
Who's Martinez?
no, yeah. I always get them too confused. Weirdly enough.
Yeah.
And then Oscar Bob. Look with that. I'm not sure if it's true or not. That's just gonna aid my decision on Man City coming second.
Yeah, they
really
just tweeted he fractured a bone in his leg. Fabrizio Romano tweeted, so he's gonna miss maybe up until Christmas at the least.
See, that's
yeah, very unlucky. Yeah.
So, and in terms of third, I think Liverpool will come third. I think the spine, what Pies kind of touched on, like that spine is there. Van Dijk, Salah, the reliable Trent, the reliable spine,
I guess, yeah,
and Alisson as well. And then, like I said, for Chelsea, I think they'll get into top four. I think, like what we said about the preseason, not doing too well in the preseason, but I'd rather make mistakes and experiment in the preseason, get it all out of the way, and then when we come to the season, we know kind of our weaknesses and work on those. So I like the approach that he's done, even though I've been negative, but looking back, I think that's a good approach. Make the mistakes now and then do the business in the league.
I mean, yeah, we will see in like 3 weeks whether we just kept making the mistakes or whether we got them out the way in preseason, I guess. But I mean, I'll take fourth. I always say this, right? I think in principle, it makes zero difference to me as a fan whether my team comes third or fourth. Zero difference. Now, sure, if you come third after you've been in a title fight, being part of the fight, that elevates it a little bit. But also, if you're in a 3-horse fight and you come third, still disappointing that, innit? So, yeah, I take fourth. I'd be very, very happy with fourth. Just quickly, before I get to Pice's questions here, someone in the chat, Sam Fowler, has tried to explain the Champions League stuff. Hey, we don't play Champions League, so I've not done the detailed research on it. But yeah, Sam, first of all, shout out to you and your go card. He says the short version of it, of how it works, is the 36 teams, which it is now. It used to be 32. Now, wasn't it 64 before? Because otherwise, how could we have a... No, it must have been.
No.
It's 32.
It was
so we must have added 4 teams. Fair enough.
Yeah, they added 4 teams, yeah.
Yeah, and they're split into 4 pods by UEFA ranking. By ranking them by, and each team plays 1 from each pod home and 1 away. Okay, so this, regardless of what pod you are in yourself, you play 1 team from pod 1, 1 team from pod 2, 1 team from pod 3, 1 team from pod 4, and each home and away, but not necessarily the same team home and away. So, yeah. And he also says only 12 teams go out in the first stage, so I doubt Villa will be one. That is a fair point, I guess, but now Dimitar's already made his prediction, so it is what it is. Pice, finish it off for us with that, Premier League table prediction. Your top 5 that you have left are also kind of the big guns, but one different big gun. You've got Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City, and Spurs. How would you order them, bro?
5th is going to be Tottenham. Going to back us for 4th.
Cool.
I think 3rd, Liverpool. 2nd, City. Arsenal 1st. As much as it pains me to say it.
Are all of you just like, I don't know, are you just coping? Like, are you already putting Arsenal first, so in case they do come first, it feels...
It's a lot of copium, yeah.
No, yeah. I genuinely believe they're going to win the league this year.
Mm.
They might. I'm not saying they won't. I'm just saying I wouldn't predict it.
I can't imagine the scenes in London. You guys would have to move out if they
it's
actually win.
It's going to be disgusting, but they've come close a couple of times now. De Bruyne's washed, it seems.
Yeah.
They're not even. The thing is, I don't even know if they can sign people, right, because of what's coming up. So they're not replacing Alvarez yet. They've done nothing all summer. Like, a lot of their players are getting older. And
surely,
to be fair,
if Pep knew this was coming, Pep would have left. No.
No, I mean it's not. It's coming next summer. So next season he will live. But what I'm saying
why not sign players now if it's coming next summer?
Because players from
I get you.
like they're being advised against joining Man City basically because of what's coming up. So
interesting.
I think Man City is going to miss out this season. And yeah, I don't even to be fair, they got very lucky last season towards the end. Son scores that 1-on-1, Arsenal win the league. You know,
Yeah, but Arsenal got so much luck with the
dodgy.
referees. Come on, Arsenal. The last 5 games was the referees every game trying to
Yeah,
make the title race
and the
interesting.
Premier League probably want Arsenal to win the league. You know, they don't.
Yeah,
want
I mean,
the same
I will
shit every
never
year.
live down the fact that they disallowed Disasi's goal against Villa, and then 48 hours later, Kai Havertz scores the absolute same goal, pushing someone in the back, and then they allow it.
No, I think City. Honestly, I watched a lot of their games towards the end of the season. Man, they always find a way, but they were not like I didn't feel like I was watching Man City sometimes. It was very, very. They were playing some very shit football. I can't lie, you know. And then it was all of a sudden they just score like 2, and you know they managed to find a way. But this is not the same Man City. It's just not.
I agree.
But I need someone to figure out how to stop Arsenal scoring set pieces because they're doing my head in, honestly, with the amount of times their defenders save them from set pieces.
I will tell you how not to stop it by using left and right backs as centre backs in a back 3.
Hey, Dimitar, don't forget we got the set piece specialist from Brentford, so
they play 4
everything's going to be fine.
They have 4 centre backs on their back line. All they do is buy fucking defenders.
Yep.
I was going to say
that's the thing. If somehow Arsenal defence starts becoming a bit leaky, then yeah, you know they probably won't win the league. But I just don't see how it doesn't. I don't even rate Gabriel, but him and Saliba as a partnership with the way Arteta plays is like you look at the Man City away game, right? Arteta can switch it to this like very nice football to this horrible Sean Dyche-esque football if they need a result, you know, like, and that's why he's a good manager. So that's why they're challenging for the league. Like you saw when they went to City, yeah, they probably should have took it to them, but they got a point at the Etihad from literally just sitting back. They sat so deep, and it's so hard to play through them. They put 5 in midfield and just tried to counter attack them, you know, so they can do that if they need results as well.
I think with Arsenal, obviously there is the City factor. Like, can City just be better again? But then the other factor is just, as much as we talk about, okay, they've been in the fight now twice and they've bottled it. At some point, they will win it. But also, what if they don't? You know, it can also become this thing where they're always fighting for it, but they never quite make it. There's also managers that have that history about them. So, like, that's also a possibility. But in terms of, Arsenal, I think it's very even. Go on.
Had less injuries than City last season, less injuries than Liverpool, and that was, I think, 2 or 3 seasons in a row. Because keep in mind, City lost De Bruyne and Haaland for about a month and a half last season, or even more. So,
but Haaland is injured for a month or 2 every year.
Yeah,
so far. So,
but the thing is, Arsenal have less injuries. I think in the last 2 seasons they were one of the teams with relatively least injuries. And even if
I feel like they sign players that aren't as injury prone. I don't know if that's just me, but I feel like the players that they have, like, we can laugh all about them, like Kevin Havertz or whatever. But have you ever heard of Havertz being injured? I haven't. Do you know what I mean?
That's all of the gummy bears. That's those sweet gummy bears working their magic. His bone structure is invincible.
I guarantee Havertz has a secret Haribo sponsorship, because otherwise this is not. I want to finish it on one question, boys, and then we wrap this one up. Each specifically to your own prediction. I'll start with you, Pais. Would you be happy with the season if it finished like this? And this is obviously more from a Chelsea perspective than a global perspective or an overall Prem perspective.
What do you mean? Like,
would you be happy if the season finished like this? If we come fourth, you know, we beat Spurs and United and these lot, but we finish behind the teams that you put ahead of us.
Oh, yeah, definitely. No, definitely, for sure. I mean, I'd hate Arsenal winning the league, but yeah, I mean, most important for us is to get back in the Champions League. And yeah, for us, it's all about consistency. You know, who knows, man. But for me, we've definitely got the quality to do it. It's just the consistency. And as I said, last year, Villa stayed 4th for so long during the season. Everyone below Villa was utter shit. Man United, Spurs, Chelsea, you know, Newcastle, everyone was so inconsistent. And it was just like, you get so many opportunities during the season for top 4. And again, look, I think the one thing that's given me hope is our attack, especially if we sign Osimhen. I think we've got goals there, and Kunku stays fit. You know, Neto stays fit. I think these are really, really good signings. Lavia's back, so we have more midfield depth now. Maybe we keep Ukachukwu as well for a different profile. And I just think our squad depth is good, is really good in my opinion. So. Yeah, I would be happy with this, but I mean, whatever happens, mate, we come 3rd somehow, Arsenal win the league, I'll be petrified. You know, I just don't want Arsenal to win the league. But focus on Chelsea and let's hope we have a good season.
100%. Nashi, I'll come to you and I'll bring your table up just, for this question as well. You also put us fourth. Would you also be happy with that as a kind of sign of progress and whatever else you want to call it?
You know what? I would be happy with it, but Arsenal, because obviously Arsenal is probably our biggest rivals, and I have a lot of friends that are Arsenal fans, which doesn't help.
Always makes it worse, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So, but I really do think they're going to do it, and like I said, with the Chelsea goal, we need to focus on ourselves, like Piesman. Like we need to let's get top 4. Let's build on this. Let's at least get some consistency and stop these transfers with, I've said it in the group chat with this Felix transfer and all. It's just too much. We need some kind of stability and just settle down and have a settled squad. That's
don't
what
worry, the stability will come when the transfer ban hits.
I don't think it's gonna hit, to be honest, because I think we got really good the corporate side in terms of the finances and stuff. I really think that they've got some smart guys behind them. As I said, I'm gonna count it myself.
I wish I still had the same.
It's coming, bro. We ain't getting away with it, bro. It's coming. Trust me.
Yeah,
really, it's coming. Okay,
it's coming, man.
Yeah, well,
it's just a question of how long and how bad. I think
you can't spend that much money with no consequences.
No. But just to be clear, we're not getting it for what these owners have spent. We're getting it for the Roman stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, the
for the dodgy
stuff.
Roman business for
I
the
was gonna say,
secret
and
payments. And
all of these signings, 30 plus signings or whatever, all this stockpiling will make sense when we get transfer bans.
Exactly.
I would still argue if you stockpile players, it would still be better to have a few of each age group and not them all being 18. Personally, but everyone will have their own opinion on that.
Unless we get banned for like 6 years, then it could make sense.
See, then I need to apologize truly.
Yep.
I don't think we're getting a 12-window transfer ban. That would be a bit mental.
Sorry, just to touch on that on the transfers. What I really don't get is we're buying these players, and some of them we're not even making a profit on. Like Chukwemeka, are we going to make a profit from him? Like we bought him for 24 million.
And that's, by the way, we're only speaking then profit on transfer fee. People are ignoring that we've also paid him millions
wages.
Yeah, and paid for medical treatment because he was injured for, let's say, 12 months. So this is definitely a net loss.
Insurance.
Doesn't make sense to me.
Well, the premium will go up. Come on.
Yeah, it will. It will, to be fair. Yeah, but that's just the only thing, isn't it? Where I'm like, you're signing these players, but you like Path. I'm not sure if you know him, CFCpys. He's like one of the Cobham guys, right? He's like, if you just gave Castledine the minutes that you gave Diego Moreira in last season's preseason, you would have sold Castledine for 10-15 million now. And now we've sold Diego Moreira for 2 million euros to Strasbourg. Now, because it's to Strasbourg, I don't even really think we should count it because it's more about the profit we get when he's sold by Strasbourg than about us. Now, sure, our own balance the books, but Blue Co obviously need to look at a broader perspective and not just us. But even still. But Nashi, yes, absolutely. Dimitar, we'll just let you go in a second. Nashi, just finish it off for me. Other than Arsenal winning, you'd be fairly happy with that, you said, yeah?
Yeah, I'll be fairly happy with that. Like, it's kind of straightforward after Arsenal and Chelsea because obviously Arsenal might be a bit of a shock to some people, but it's straightforward. Man City coming second and Liverpool coming third. So
fair dues. And Dimitar, I'll come to you before you need to head off. Obviously, you've put us very far down in 7th. So I assume you would not be happy at all with this season.
The only way I would be happy is if this turns out like that, if they keep Maresca and if they help him build, because that is what will make this club successful in the future. Just getting a manager and sticking with him, because even if a manager fails after the first season, I simply hate changing managers this often. So I would be happy if Chelsea just have some continuity and some cohesion. Like the finish of this season will not matter because we could finish 5th and they can still get rid of Maresca in the summer for some reason, because this is not off the cards. Or let's say you guys are right, we get some heavy transfer ban and then Maresca says, "Oh no, guys, I was promised something else. I don't want to coach a team which has this big of a transfer ban, for example, because this is not impossible." So,
I mean,
I
I'm
just want
still of the
continuity.
opinion that in the next 2 to 3 years, Cesc Fabregas will be Chelsea manager. Whether that's directly to replace Maresca or after somebody else, I don't know. But
Could be.
I mean, does anybody expect Maresca to be here for more than 3 years? I don't. And
But,
3 years is already
yeah,
a push. So,
I mean,
but,
I'm going to say just another thing. I looked at the table last season, and basically the top 5 teams after the first 10 match days finished in the top 5, of course, in different positions. So I'm going to say again, I think the start of the season will be what will determine the outcome. If we manage to play with a clean style, if we manage to impress people, if we manage to stay fit in the first 8 to 10 games and perform well, then we could reach top 4, top 5, top 3. But if it all crashes and burns in the first 10 match days, I don't think we can recover. So, yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Dimitar, I know you need to head off, so thank you very, very much for giving us your time. We'll see you soon.
Yep. Thanks also for being on the stream. And yeah, goodbye to you all. And let's see what this season has for us. Bye, guys.
Yes, exactly. Cheers, bro. Just quickly, supposedly that Pleti guy, so Pletigo, Christian Streich, I think his name is, said Osimhen prefers PSG over the Prem. Then Adam asks Pais, is Pletigo reliable? Obviously, Pais, I will let you answer yourself. The only thing I would say is, how would a German journalist know where a Nigerian plays for an
it's a
Italian
German
club?
journalist, isn't it?
Yeah, honestly, this guy is like the biggest like waffler. Honestly, like if he says something about a German club, is what like he's might be.
Then you need to at least listen. But even then, who knows?
Yeah, no, like he said like the other week that Chelsea tried to or made an offer for like Maximilian Beer, and like no Chelsea source backed it up. Like literally one of the players in Germany, no one backed it up. So. Look, I think it's waffle. I mean, he's probably just guesswork because look, PSG will pay him the most wages. But if you really think he wants to go back to Ligue 1 when he's already conquered that league with Lille, overcoming to the Premier League, then you're in denial. That's absolute bollocks, in my opinion.
Exactly. I mean, he might prefer that PSG will pay him whatever he wants, and in the
exactly. But he's saying he prefers that over the Premier League. I mean, I highly doubt that. He's already played in Ligue 1. You know, like he's done that chapter of his career. So. I don't really believe that.
Exactly. Oli, I know we all need to head off now. So just quickly, you put us 5th. Are you banking on the fact that the Prem will get a 5th Champions League spot this season?
I don't know. I don't know if that'll happen or not. I see us being 5th. That may well determine whether we feel like we've had a good season or not. For me, because I think we've got to be looking to try and get back in the Champions League. I don't know, man. I think Dimitar was probably kind of right. I think a lot of it's going to hinge on the start of the season, and it could be a long season if we struggle. Yeah, you know, a key thing is Maresca needs to get the buy-in from the players and early on, and that means results. So that's what we've got to hope for.
And also for the atmosphere. Like we know that at Chelsea, a lot of the results depends on the mood. And if we start off well, everything's like just flowing nicely. The fans are back in the whole thing. Everybody's like just in a good vibe. Everybody's in decent form. Everybody's improving. Then it's going to just, the positive wave is going to keep going, I reckon. But if you start badly, like Dimitar said, it's so difficult to get yourself out of that rut. Like the fans are not going to be happy. Like if we concede
you've only got one chance.
If we concede those goals more,
chance
Stanford's going to lose
impression. People say you only get one chance to make a first impression, and for a lot of the match-going fans, you know, they'll be the first time they've seen Maresca and his system sort of like in person. So
I don't think the Inter game was that bad for it, to be honest. Like in terms of seeing a system, but without a game that truly matters yet. I think that was actually quite smart of them. I don't think they do many smart things, but I think that was actually quite smart to give kind of the. I don't know how many of the usual match goers went to that game, or if the usual like season ticket holders were like, well, I'm going next week anyway, just save myself 60 quid for a stupid friendly, because obviously it was quite expensively priced. But yeah, Ollie, would you be okay, satisfied with the season's coming 5th? Does it need us to win the Conference League at the same time to be okay with it? Or
5th in the Conference League probably just about gets us there, and that's only because we're completing the set. Ideally, I think for us to have a successful season, we need to be thinking top 4. Like I said, I'm not sure that's going to happen, whether it's because of a transfer ban or whatever else. So I can't say I'd be overly satisfied. It'd be all right, but considering we came fifth last season, I would have expected, even with maybe a shaky start, for us to kick on this season. Everyone's a year older, everyone's a year more experienced.
Yeah, absolutely. Fair dues. And just to quickly add my thoughts on my prediction, I suppose. Even though I put us fourth here, like I said, this is partly club patriotism, rather than fully believing, that will happen this way. If we do make fourth, I'm going to be buzzing. I'm going to be very happy. And I'm not, I'm not an Arsenal fan from 5 years ago who celebrate nothing more than coming fourth. But realistically, we've just come 12th and sure, 6th, scraped it at the end. But 6th, and because, City bottled the FA Cup final, we're not in the Europa League. And because all of the English teams were so shit in Europe, like the position we finished in, how 6th this season wasn't, or last season wasn't at least Europa League, is still one of the, how unlucky can you be? Like, when was the last time 6th in the Premier League didn't get Champions League? Didn't get Europa League. Probably 2012 when we kicked Spurs out. Like that, and then 4th made Europa League and 5th made Europa League and 6th made nothing. That's probably the last time that happened. Of course, it had to happen to us because Europa League would have been that edge better. Also, in terms of squad balance, I think, in terms of, playing the big guns in the Prem, but having the other players they're not going to be happy. Like, people talk about Joao Felix. Is Joao Felix going to be happy playing Conference League? I don't think so. Is he going to start out of Nkunku? I don't think so. So unless he plays him on the wing, where at least on the Lampard and Potter, he wasn't very good. I don't know. I don't know. Obviously, I don't really think Joao Felix will be signed personally. But hey, I do hope Arsenal don't win it again just because it's funny. But hey, if we come fourth, I'll take it. Obviously, we have to win the Conference League. I think with the Conference League, it's the only competition where I'm like, well, no, you must win that. Carabao Cup, FA Cup, it's always like, yeah, sure, hopefully we win it. But if you play a City, if you play an Arsenal, if you play these teams in the final, you might win, you might not. You never, like, we're not better than those teams, but probably worse than those teams. So I'm not going to be too mad if we don't win those cups. Conference League, though, that should be a must win. But, ladies and gentlemen, this was a fairly long stream, but to be honest, considering everything we got through, I don't think it was that bad. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very, very much for watching. Please do check out all my wonderful guests. You can see, in particular, Ollie's links on screen as well. Links are also down in the description. Ollie J. Carpenter on Twitter at The Bridge Pod is his podcast. Please do check that out. It's a wonderful podcast. And, of course, the same goes for Pys. CFCpys on Twitter. I'm sure you all follow him already anyway, but if you don't, check out his playback as well for all your transfer news streams. We'll be back with transfer news in the next day or two as well. But yeah, check out Nation as well. Link is also down in the description below. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very, very much for watching. Up the Chelsea, upwards and onwards, and we will see you next time.